Hi everyone, we are live. We are only a minute late, so that's a exciting new record we just had. I'm Shayla. I'm the founder of Resplendence Language Arts, and I have to my right of me or left, depending on your screen, Mwelimu Muthoni from Kenya, who's also the education director. She's like the captain, the co-pilot. She makes everything happen here at Resplendence Language Arts. And in terms of happening, we are in our third. Oh my gosh, count it. Moja Mbili Tatu, third year with the celebration of global African excellence. We have a great lineup this year. And we're going to eventually bring people on stage so you can learn more about their story and what they bring to the global diaspora as well. And Mutoni, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi everyone, I'm so very excited today. My name is Muthoni. You can call me Mwalimu Muthoni, Teacher Muthoni. I am from Kenya and I welcome you all to join us. Let us celebrate together, let's learn together, and let us reclaim our roots together.
Awesome. And speaking of roots, I really think it's important to kind of let you guys know what the flow should be. The first is we're going to have an invocation by Mama Fasi. I know you guys have been seeing our YouTubes, our Instagrams, and our Facebook with when we're sending out to you guys information about their bios. So make sure you check out their bios. These are strong people within the community, and we certainly want to highlight them. So first, we're going to do the invocation by Mama Fasi. Then segment 1 is all about language, legacy, and identity with Baba Bolekia. Excuse me, because I call him Baba Bolekia, but Justo, Bolekia, Boleka. And then Linford Sweeney will also be with that broadcast. That's segment 1. Segment 2 is African women's health and healing. Segment 3 is land, legacy, and farming. And segment 4 is a diasporic journey. So stick around. It's going to be 4 amazing segments, and it's going to be a call to action at the end. So with that being said, we're going to bring up Mommy Fasi. Give me 1 second, Mama Fasi. And I'm going to remove us because it's going to be all about you. Hi, Mama Fasi. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I'm so ready to hear from you. I'm going to remove myself from stage and let you have all the highlight and glory. All right.
All right, thank you. Happy New Day, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today with all of you. I give thanks to all of our ancestors that we lived long enough to see this day and to be together with each other. I'm not going to stay too long. I have some of my class members with me, but I'm going to do a little solo for you to hear how important I feel my drumming is and how much I love to drum. The drum is the heartbeat of everything. Rhythm is the first thing we hear in our mother's womb. My drum has kept me alive. I don't know what I would have done without my drum. When I'm sad, I play my drum. When I'm happy, I play my drum. When I'm disappointed, I play my drum. It never fails me. So I'm happy to be here today to play for you. We're talking about togetherness, being together with each other, unity. And so I have a motto, an anthem that I teach everywhere I go. And it's called I like you like me, and I like you like me. Right where you are, if you can repeat that for me, I would appreciate it. I like you like me, and I like you like me. and I like you, you like me, and I like you, you like me. So now we're gonna actually play that for you. I want you to listen out for the I like you, you like me when Amadee plays on the drum. Are we ready? We're gonna start out with a little call. Oh, I forgot. I need to introduce everybody. Would you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Kojo Bradshaw. Been playing drums. I started in 1965 to about 1980, and just now starting back again.
I'm called Libyan. I've been playing drums since 2018. Nice to be here.
I am Aglaye, also known as Amadee. I've been playing drums for 8 weeks, but my soul has been playing it for a long time.
And I am Mama Fasi, and I've been playing drums for over 50 years. I'm 75 years old soon, like this year. I plan to be playing another 75 years. Okay, here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. Don't forget, I like you, you like me, and I like you, you like me, and I like you. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of the program.
Thank you so much, Mama Fasi. I really, really love that. Thank you so much for opening us up. And I can't wait to see you in the future, hopefully in Ghana as well. Thank you so much for opening.
You're welcome.
So next we're going to bring up Gerard, and Gerard is going to take over for a while with me. Let me bring him up. Hi, Brother Gerard. How are you? Oh, can't hear you. You got to turn on your microphone.
Greetings, sister. How are you?
Greetings. Good, good. I'm bringing up the gentleman here. I'm going to let you take over with our legacy portion of the program. Enjoy, and I'm going to let go, and you let in, Gerard, and take over.
Thank you. I am Gerard Bayanu from Benin Republic. For those who don't know where Benin Republic is located, because in Africa we have Benin City in Nigeria, and we have Benin Republic, which is a country between Nigeria and Togo. You see, so I am a teacher on the ground here, and I teach Fongbe at RLA, French as well. I'm a cultural custodian and offer tours to people who would like to visit Benin because Benin has played an important role in the history of Black trade. And I also teach history and the culture of Dahomey.
I don't know if we had a technical difficulty. That's okay. Let's get this started. So, Professor Bolekia, please introduce yourself, and then we'll have Linford, Mr. Sweeney.
Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Bolekia.
talking about
Bolekia is my traditional name, but as I have been colonized by the Spanish. That's why I'm answering Justo Bolekia Boleka. I'm professor at the University of Salamanca. I'm visiting professor of many African European universities. I'm writing sometimes books of poetry, essays, linguistic dictionaries, etc. This is what I can say now.
Yes, I don't think you've got your mic on, Shayla.
I did it. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Sweeney, I was saying that you please carry
Yes. Yes. My name's Linford Sweeney. I'm based in Manchester in the UK. I'm what you might call a freelance historian. I specialize in African, Caribbean, American, Black history in general, what we term as Black history. I'm also a Caribbean genealogist, and I'm an author. And I'm currently very much interested in and carrying out research and projects around oral history, and particularly the oral history of people who came from the Caribbean, who are known as the Windrush generation. Your mic, Shayla.
Thank you. I always forget. I'm going to start the question, and then I'm going to hand it back over to Gerard. But my first question for both of you gentlemen, and it doesn't matter the order, however you guys want to take it, is in what ways can reclaiming and teaching African languages disrupt colonial narratives and empower our younger generations, both on the continent and also in the diaspora?
Okay. I will go first. What we know is that Africa's languages, culture, and legacy play a vital role in transforming global perceptions and it also challenges colonial narratives. Now, African languages serve as essential tools for decolonization, reclaiming narratives historically overshadowed by European languages. As you know, European languages were imposed on Africans from the 1800s, actually even before that, but mainly from the 1800s with what we call the scramble for Africa by Europeans. And so we have to reclaim that. What we are aware of is that there's somewhere in the region of 2,500 to 3,000 different languages in Africa. And many of those are now can now be translated into various languages throughout the world. And take, for instance, Yoruba, Igbo, and various others. So it's important that we we realize that it's serving as a tool for decolonization, because right now we are in a very strong position to actually start taking on this role and doing something about it, not just individuals, but organizations. And finally, promoting these languages in education and media is crucial for preserving cultural heritage. For example, in the Caribbean, we've got something called patois. which I speak from Jamaica, for instance, and that we need to preserve that also because it is a mix of English and various African languages. So again, new languages are coming forward as we move forward.
Baba?
Yes, thank you, Sheila. After listening to my colleague from Sweeney, I think that we have to talk about two Africa, inside Africa and outside Africa. Inside Africa, we are not the owner of the languages. Outside Africa, we are not the owner of the languages. It means we are not the owner of the cognitive building of the African new generation. We African, as Africans, we are not the owner. We don't own even the schools where we're supposed to teach our languages, we're supposed to teach our culture. We don't own even the churches where we're supposed to teach our beliefs. We don't own anything. It means as Africans without languages, because imagine we have in Africa we have 2,314 languages, but no one of these languages is official. No one of these languages is taught from primary school to university. No one of them. So inside Africa, we don't own our language. Outside Africa, we don't own languages. So who we are without language, without culture, without beliefs, who we are, which we presume that we are Africans because maybe it's because we are black, we are eating kenke, we are eating jollof, we are eating many food, but we don't add. Okay, let us give the young boy to say something. Maybe Mr. Richard. Huh? Okay.
Thank you. So my dear elders, I really appreciate. People fighting for democracy, people fighting for or struggling for development, but neither, democracy nor development is possible without language. When African people think in foreign language, when somebody take your language from you, that's where the mental slavery, the brainwash, everything starts. Because there's no way my English will really be like a Native American. There's no way my understanding of French that I've been learning for more than 30 years will be like a French people's French, because there will always be something that I will not happen to comprehend, because that's not my culture. And making Africans speak foreign language, think in foreign language, being ruled in foreign language, there's no way they can meet development. It will always be an illusion for development to really occur. When people say democracy, and whenever an African country is not on the same line with Europeans talking about democracy, there's war. Those Europeans will just mingle and try to mess up with everything, create war, just for their profit. But truly speaking, democracy is not possible. And there's no country in Africa today which can even claim to be a democratic country. Why? When I take the example of my country, the official language is French. And when we say French is the official language, it is only those who have been to school who in fact speak French. And those who understand that French is not the mass, is not the majority of the population. So it's like 50. And now come to the law. When the government or the parliament votes some law, the real population, the mass, do not understand. Even those who have been to school do not understand. So when you are ruled in a foreign language and you really don't understand the system in which you are put, there's no democracy and there's no development. That is why regaining our language and making them official language, promoting them at all costs, is a way to definitely access to freedom. The independence we have been talking about for decades now, it is only when we can really go to school in our local language, think in our local language, think development in our local language. That is why this initiative by Sheila and her people that we are is to be supported at all costs to strengthen the bridge, not only between Africans of the diaspora and those of the motherland, but this stands for a starting point of real independence and development. Thank you.
It means that this our AU, African Union, must disappear, because this our African. I'm talking about inside Africa, okay? Because the official languages in this African Union organization are English, French, Portuguese, Spanish, and Swahili. And Swahili is not a totally complete African language. So we have 2,314 languages, African languages. No one is official in an African organization. It's incredible. Huh? So we build our young generation with their cognitive system with foreign languages, foreign culture, foreign beliefs. We don't build Africa. We still not have not independence, no, not democracy. No, we are not sovereigns. Okay, because we don't have languages to give our young people. We don't have anything. We live a borrowed. I don't know if the language, the word is a borrowed language. Life is like our languages, our culture, our belief, our way of everything is borrowed from Western people. Okay, because they are the owner of the build of our cognitive system. They are the owner. They are the owner of the contents, the school contents, the curricular contents. They are the owner. Until we become the owner of the contents, etc., we will never improve. We will never develop. And our rulers, the African president, the African head of state, the African Union, are responsible of all this, because they have approved this charter for African cultural renaissance in the year 2006 in Khartoum. And in this charter, they said they will implement the curriculum, African curricula in African languages from 2006 until today, 2025. They haven't done that. They are big liars. They are lying us.
I think it's interesting that Malcolm X did point out some time back that we cannot rely on our colonizers to make changes in our society. We've got to do it ourselves. And sometimes we are relying too much on the colonizers to make changes. And really, we have to take charge of these changes ourselves, or else we'll be talking about this same topic in 20, 30, 40 years' time.
Yeah. And there is a trap also. It's true that we it's good to promote African languages, but we have to be very careful today because we are living in a rainbow country. You know, when we're talking about rainbow, we do not refer to what happens in Europe, like, you know, gender stuff. No, the rainbow here, it means a great cultural diversity. Within every African country, you have so many varieties of languages and culture because we know how to live together despite some differences. Like in Benin Republic, for example, we have we have 62 dialects. You know, Europeans want us to call our languages dialects. That's not a big deal. But we have at least, 60 languages. And though we know that there are languages that are the most spoken, Europeans, or there are people who will not agree on the promotion of one language over others. But it will always be difficult that within one country, like a small country like Benin, where we are just 12 million inhabitants, you have 50 languages or 60 languages, and then you want to pick one. Some will just rise and say, no, why not this language? Because our government tried something like 2 decades, 15 years ago, with the later Professor Beyonvi. And the challenges was which language to choose. What I'm trying to say, to make long story short, is that though we want to promote African languages, we have to think of the most spoken languages. If in Nigeria, we notice that, okay, we have so many different ethnic groups, so many dialects, but we have at least dominant dialects, and we have dialects that interconnect. Like this come from this, the other one come from there.
Young men, you still talk about dialect. This is European word. You still talk about dialect.
Absolutely, I understand. Yeah. So you see, we have to think of the dominant languages. If we do not, and we have to be careful whenever we choose, though the language will be dominant, there will be outsiders who will finance small groups to go against the project, saying that, okay, English is the most spoken after all. You have been speaking English for decades, for like a century now. Why not keep the English as official language and ignore the dialects? Why not keep French? So there will be those challenges that we have to think of. For example, when I take Benin Republic, the southern part, Fongbe is the dominant language. Though you have more than 30 different languages, Fongbe is dominant. Like somebody who speaks Ewe from Ghana, from Togo, who speaks Mina, who speaks Weda, Kola, Popo, Gun, Tofi, all those people understand clearly Fongbe. So in the northern part as well, there is a dominant language. But whenever you pick the dominant language from the southern part and one dominant language from the northern part, there's a problem again. Other people will say, why not pick this language? So we need people who really accept the sacrifice. If we notice that the Ewe from Ghana is most spoken in Ghana, Togo, and is also spoken in part of Benin, we can accept the sacrifice. Okay, we leave the Fongbe and then promote the Ewe all over those countries, because after all, is one people. We are not different. The Benin people, all the southern part, we came from Ghana. We call it Togo, Atado, and then we are Beninese today. And the culture has not changed. The history has not changed. So I would like to draw our attention on that. Though we want to promote African languages, we have to think of dominant languages and strategies to block outsiders who might raise some traps to make the project fall. Thank you.
We didn't do what Europeans did, because thinking about France had like 70 different languages. And when they came, when the revolutionary Maximilien Robespierre, etc., they imposed the Francian languages to all French people, Gallic people. They impose it. They force people to send their children to school to learn the language, the new language. And if you refuse to take your children to school, you will go to prison. It means what? It means years ago, with our first dictators, maybe we should impose one language. We didn't do that. This Spanish we are speaking today, it was not the only language in Spain. This English, it was not this German, this Italian, but they imposed one language. We need to impose, because if we try to negotiate with this 40, in Nigeria we have 600 and something different languages. How can we negotiate with these 600? It's impossible. So someone should come and say, oh, from today, the language that to teach in school is this one. And okay, whether you say yes or not, your children will learn this language at school. If we don't do that, we will never have one language. Never. But anyway, as you said, Fongbe can be understood. Yes, like a Swahili, like a Pidgin English, like Hausa, like Yoruba. But we need to. At this time, I think our African Union rulers, I don't know if they are aware of this. They are not aware of it, because if they are aware of it, I think they should look for the solution. Because how can I say that I'm African, but I can't chat with my brothers from Benin, if I don't use foreign language. I can't speak with my brothers in South Africa if I don't use foreign language. You see, so this is, for me, is a hard task. For me, it's a shame that I can't speak with you as African. That's why I said we have two African, inside Africa and outside Africa. Inside Africa, we can't communicate if we don't share the same colonizer, or French or English or Spanish or Portuguese. We can't communicate. Even the same family from Ghana, from Togo, the same family speaking Ewe, but sometimes some of the family members don't speak Ewe. They have to use either English or either French to communicate. It's very wonderful. Okay, which language are we going to give our young Africans? Which legacies? Which identities? We don't have anything to give them, because, as I said, we don't own the schools. We don't own the churches. We don't own the cultures. And what is inside here, from 1 year to 18 years, English, French, Portuguese, culture, etc., we never abandon this. Never.
It's interesting that I agree totally with what you're saying. Ownership is crucial to any people's taking control of their destiny. if you look at Europe, it started in around the 800s. The Spanish, for instance, took on their own a language called Spanish, and the English later on, the French, all of them took on their own languages, and they started speaking in their own languages. That doesn't necessarily mean that everybody understood it, but they started speaking in their own languages. They started writing in that language. They gave orders in that language. The military used that language. The books were written in those languages. I mean, in Britain, for instance, from around 1066, when the French came in, French was imposed on Britain. But later on, Britain took on English, and English became the language. But one thing you've said there, which I think is quite important, somebody has to sit down and say, look, this is the language we are going to use. It's going to be a language that is going to be spoken, not necessarily by all the people initially, but eventually it's going to be the language that we're going to write our books in. It's the language we do business with. And it's also the language where it's how we're going to think. Because this is a thing somebody said to me some time back. If you really want to understand another language, you've got to be able to think in that language.
To think, without to think, because I was in South Africa for 2-3 times. I was everywhere in Africa. You have those Africans. I'm talking about inside Africa. Those Africans who did this, call a school, go to school, and those Africa without any education. Okay, so these Africans without education, as you said, young man Gerard, they can even understand this foreign language well. But when you go to the market, you meet people who cannot even say one word in this official foreign language. And when you want to buy something with a woman, you want to buy granite, if you want to buy mango, they will speak their own language, their native language. If you don't understand, okay, you will just use the sign that you point out the mango, etc., give the money, etc. It's funny, but it's painful, very painful. As Mr. Linford said, it's very painful for me. If I'm the president of my hypothetical republic, there is no discussion. One language, the other language will be respected. Okay, but one language for all of us. Even if we have 100 languages, 500 different languages, but one for all of us. Official, one language for us. Because until we have our own language, native language, we will never have African Union. Never. As we said, all of us agree, we will never develop, because development must be supported by the culture. Our cultures. If we don't have culture, we don't have belief, we don't have languages, we don't have anything. We don't have cars, we don't produce cars, we don't produce nothing.
Yeah. I think, don't get me wrong, that's why I tell people, for a real development of Africa, we need dictators. I'm sorry to say that. Democracy cannot work in our condition because the brainwash has gone too far. And that
please, Gerard, tell them that we need dictators, but not to kill the people.
Exactly. I'm going to arrive there. We need dictators who have great vision, who understand geopolitics and everything. because there's no question on which African will really be united and understand each other. But everything always starts from few people, not from the mass. The real revolution, the real change, the real mental revolution. So we need people who understand what's going on, who knows what time it is, and then impose the change on our people. There will be no debate. We just need an elite, a group, a small group of people who will now impose the change, and then this. Otherwise, there's no development when your economy is controlled by Westerners. Your schools, I mean, your education, your educational system is designed and controlled by Westerners. When your army is trained by Westerners, it's not possible. And in our system today, the level that this colonization has, because colonization never finished, is still going on. The level that it has reached today, only dictators can change Africa, can bring Africa its dignity back. That is why I completely agree. That's why I was drawing your attention on that, because they will try to block that from happening. But we have to force people to follow the move, to follow the change. Thank you so much, dear elders.
We are in silence. My dear Linford, Sweeney, this young man is very clever, very wise. So he's for those rulers who are listening. Are you in Benin? I suppose.
Yes, I'm in Benin Republic.
Be careful, because you are rulers there.
I know.
Yes. Because that's why many people have passed away because of their way of thinking, of their way of saying things. Mr. Linford, Sweeney talk about Malcolm X. You have Malcolm X, you have Marcus Garvey, you have many people. Even here in Africa, you have many people who are trying to, but Western people are watching us. They are watching us. They don't want to lose their advantages. They don't want to lose the control of our resources. They are watching us. And now, I don't know if because I heard some poet somewhere saying that our schools in Africa are controlled by the French, Portuguese, English, Spanish, and Arabic. And now they introduce some of their collaborators, Russian and Chinese. They are collaborating with Western people. They are collaborating. Very soon, you will see our students learning Chinese and Russian in our primary schools. You see, and they will impose this, and they will negotiate. And that is why you see sometimes Chinese is asking all African head of state, 54, 55 African head of state, to go and visit China. Sometimes France, even only France, will invite 54, 55 African head of state to go to Paris for a meeting. Even Spain, little Spain will invite, and they will go. Yeah. Without no discussion. They will go. Head of state, how can you do that? So there are many things to do. This is what also late Professor Cheikh Anta said. We have some intellectual Africans who are collaborating with these Western people. We have pastors who are collaborating. We have many people who are collaborating. So these few people who can impose the change in every country is a hard work. It's a hard work.
Very hard work, especially when you go to. Okay, no, I will let dear elders Linford speak.
Oh no, I was just about to say that if you look at history, historically, from ancient Egypt through to the Kush, through to Axum, ancient Ghana Empire, etc. I haven't done a lot of research on the language element, but I'm sure language had a big part to play in their success, in that there were groups of people who all spoke similar languages. Even if there were 3 or 4 different languages, they actually had one language which the king or the queen or whoever it was that controlled actually spoke and imposed on the people, particularly those people who are controlling the military, those people who are controlling trade, those people who are writing, etc. But don't forget, the main reason, one of the main reasons why we are where we are is because of the division of Africa by Europeans. You know, that is one of the main reasons why we are here today. And as a result of that, that has created a lot of artificial boundaries across Africa. Lots of artificial boundaries. At one time, you had the Benin Empire. You had the Ashanti Empire. Yeah. You had I'm forgetting all the different Mali Empire, etc. You know, you had so many different kingdoms and empires that they actually ruled over one group of people. The Europeans came in, divided up everything, and they've made sure that through divide and rule, it stays that way. Because as you know, within Africa, there are many, well, Africa is filled with resources that the West needs. Yeah. I hope I'm not getting too political now, but as I said, Africa has many resources that the West needs. And until we take hold, it's a bit like Burkina Faso, until we take control of those resources, as Professor Bolekia has said. Have I pronounced it right, Bolekia?
Yes, bro. Yes.
You know, we need to take ownership, and one way to take ownership is to take ownership of our resources. And once we take ownership of our resources, the next thing we need to do, we need to have proper, fair trade agreements between ourselves and the various Western powers. And again, once we do that, then we start looking at language, I think. I think, as you said, ownership has to come before anything else.
Yes.
It's going to be difficult to have one language without ownership and without...
It's true.
We need to own the school education systems. I mean, I know, for instance, where I'm from. I'm originally from Jamaica. And where I'm from in Jamaica, up to when my parents went to school, they only learned about British history. They learned about British culture. They learned about British food, British everything. Yeah. Yes. And from my understanding, there are places in Africa where it's still the case today. Yes. You know? So these are some of the things. If we're going to if we're going to reclaim our own narratives, we have to start being strategic. We have to start looking carefully at what it is we need to have and control that can take us to the next level.
Mr. Linford, thank you. Thank you for your wise words. See, in the year 2099, Africans will be 4 billion inhabitants, will have 4 billion inhabitants. Now, Africa has 1 billion and 6 million, 600 million. In the year 2099, Africa will have 4 billion inhabitants. What are we going to legate these Africans? What are we going to give them? What are they going to heritage? 4 billion inhabitants in Africa, moving up and down. They need roads, they need languages, they need safety, they need development, they need everything. So the year 2099 is just in 2-3 days. In 2-3 days, now it's 2025. We think that, 2099 is far. It's not far. What are they going to heritage? What are they going to have like legacy? What? Because imagine now, I'm African, living in Europe. My children will not speak totally my language. So my grandsons maybe they will speak like 10 words, 15 words in my language. The others will forget it. So which one will be the legacy? So our grandpa has been, maybe he was an African, he spoke sometimes his language, etc. But we are Europeans. We're not Africans. Because some people are saying that born in Europe, they say they are Europeans.
True.
What are we going to? What are they going to have as heritage? It's not easy. That's why I say that our rulers, the president of the African state, the head of state of the African Union, they are lying us. They don't do their job, their work as they have to do. They don't. In this case, what sometimes Professor Flo Lumumba said is true. Because they are the president of the Western people in Africa. They are not the president of Africans. Because if you come to Africa and you give a look around you, you will see big houses with a high wall. High wall. It means the politicians are protecting themselves against the normal Africans. That's why maybe they are trying to keep this distance between the real Africa and the Africa they taught them in the schools when they were young. But nowadays, we notice that Europeans still control Africa. Schools, as I said, churches, as I said, foods, electricity, cars, transportation, etc. I don't know what we're supposed to do, but we have to, to convince some people to start becoming the owners of schools, of our sovereignty, of our life, of our proper life. But because we are not the owner of our proper life. It's sad. For me, it's very sad. It's very sad. I've been in Europe for 50 years now. 50. I'm coming to Africa now. I'm in Ghana. If I'm not in Ghana, I'm in South Africa. If I'm in Africa, I'm in Togo. If I'm not in Togo, I'm in Senegal, Cameroon. Because if coming to Africa makes me live the reality of what Africans are living in Africa.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just one other thing. I'm just thinking. I love to teach history, I love to teach people about where we're coming from, where we are today, and but also we talk about legacy. What legacy we're going to leave? The thing is, education's is crucial. Now, what always surprises me is why is it that our education systems in places like the Caribbean, Africa, various other places where Black people are, is still a Western education. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having Western education, but why can't the two work together? Because in order to trade and whatever, Western education is needed, but we can't be too insular and just say we just need our own education and leave it at that. So all I can say is that I think it's funny. A friend of mine actually asked me to get involved in a project in Nigeria. And she said in that particular state, they've gotten rid of anything to do with Black history, anything to do with African history. And I thought to myself, that means they're just teaching European history. What is going on there? You know, when it's just European. Now, we know that a lot of that has to do with what Professor Bolekia just said. And it's about they're a small group of people who basically are hiding away from the majority because they are the ones who are controlling things and the West controls them, you know. But the point is we're in a difficult situation if we're allowing ourselves to continually be controlled in that way. And as you said, 2099, we might still be in exactly the same position with 4 million people if something's not done today.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, dear elders. You know, I would like to add that so when you look around the world, you can clearly realize that it's only countries or nations who remain attached to their language and culture emerge. They are the only one who really can emerge. When you take India, China, and all those countries, is because despite the colonization, they remain rooted in their culture. And they made the language official. And because when you really go to school and at age of 4 or 5, you have not fully mastered your maternal language. And then they brought you another language and you are forced to speak that language. It makes you think less smart. Because when you take a child and you tell him 1 + 1 = 2, and 1 is not his language, plus is not his language, equal is not his language, he has first of all to think of what is 1? What does that mean? What does plus mean? And it takes time for him. And finally, he's learning things that he does not even understand. Like, I remember there are songs that I learned at school when I was at primary school, but it's today I can understand the words of those songs. But at that time, I was singing well because we were forced to repeat what people want us to repeat. So, in the whole, if the educational system is not corrected, and our languages are taught, all the curriculum is designed in African language, there will never be development. There's no way. You have professors of, science, professors who do biology, but truly speaking, they cannot bring that into their language. and this makes them less productive because they are talking about items that they really do not understand. And the challenge is, I mean, it's very difficult, the process, because you have, what will the president, I mean, the leaders do? When African leaders, all of them or most of them, are in Freemasonry, or what do you call it? Their system, Europeans used to control the leaders. Like when they're invited to have a meeting somewhere, is where they made a decision of the school program, the curriculum you got to teach in your country. Because you are already in prison, you are already, you don't have hand free. When you're practicing their Freemasonry or those sect different stuff, the only thing African leaders think of is their own wellness and their families. So I come back to say only dictators can cause the development. It's not easy, but that's the only way. And we need more people like this who really understand what's going on, who have the right idea and ready to go for the battle.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, my colleague Linford, Sweeney. Thank you for sharing a very, very few of your huge experience. I hope we will meet again in this type of debate. I hope so. I hope it will not be the last time. Okay, I think that we have to leave. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Bolekia and Mr. Linford. It has been a very interesting and insightful session. You know, there is a Swahili saying that penye wazee hapaharibiki jambo, meaning where there are elders, nothing goes wrong. We are so happy and blessed to have you, our dear elders, and thank you for sharing your ideas and your wisdom. So now in this session, we're going to be talking about African women's health and wellness. I'm doing this with Teacher Tosin from Nigeria. If Sister Tosin, you can hear me, please say hello.
Hello, I can hear you. Good afternoon, good morning. Hello, can you hear me?
All right. So I have one challenge. We have a very heavy downpour right now. I can barely hear anything. That's why I'm literally shouting. But it's a blessing to have rains over here because I know we are going to, have plenty of harvest. Anyway, in this section, we're going to have Dr. Nneka and Dr. Mayian. They will be sharing their insights on this section's topic, which is about African women's health and wellness. So allow me to bring to you Dr. Nneka. Please, Dr. Nneka, Yes, our dear Dr. Nneka is on the screen. Please say hello to our audience and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Dr. Nneka Uzama-Gigi. I am an African hair griot and a Black maternal health ally. And I'm also a literacy advocate. So I'm looking forward to this conversation and discussing a very pressing topic, not just in my work, but just in Black women and children's lives, just in general. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation today.
Thank you so much for all that you do, and we are happy to have you. And also we have Dr. Mayian from Kenya.
Hey guys.
So good to see you, sister. Please pardon me. I can barely hear you. you people from that side, that's why I'll be leaving it to Tuesday until the rains come down. I'm so excited. Rains mean a lot over this side, you know. Dr. Mayian, I don't know if I should say, Ero. I know you're from the Ma community, but I don't know what language you speak.
Yeah, I speak
Thank you so
Samburu,
much for the
Masai.
work that you're doing over there. We appreciate you and welcome you to this very important and beautiful discussion. Sister Dawson, if you do not mind, would you mind taking the steering? Because I'm sure you can hear them.
Okay. Yes, I can hear them. You're welcome, Dr. Mayian and Dr. Nneka. It's good to have you on the show. And it's a very wonderful one. And regarding this crucial topic that we're going to be discussing, it's a topic I so much love. Talking about African humans, it's a very delicate topic, and we'd love you to share your experience with us today. And of course, we would like you to talk about how we as African human, how we can reclaim humanhood in terms of our life and our work. That is, what does reclaiming African humanhood means to you in this season of your life and work? Are you there?
Okay, so much for having me on the show. Tosin, Mwalimu Mudhoni, and my sister, Dr. Nneka Zoma. My name is Dr. Mayian. I am a medical doctor in Kenya, and I am so honored to actually be part of this panel. I think we had earlier discussed with Dr. Nneka how we're gonna talk about this because it's very much information packed when we talk about African women health and wellness. I think when we talk about women health and wellness, when we talk about the African women, we don't just talk about the absence of disease. We talk about identity. We talk about the dignity, the culture, and the power of women to actually lead change in their communities. So thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Nneka.
So for me, when we talk about Black women, African women, and their wellness journey, I think what is most important that shows up in my work, and I think both of our work, is a calling of honoring traditions, especially if we are looking at Black and African women who are living in the United States. Somewhere along the lines, we have been coerced into thinking that traditions and rituals and rites of passages are hoodoo, or it's not necessarily of value, or it's the old way. When I really believe a lot of our old traditional indigenous ways is what I think is going to deliver us from a lot of academic, medical, social justice persecution that I think that we have been facing. And specifically, when I look at wellness, in my work, I work very hard to uplift Black moms and their babies. The rate at which Black women and their babies are dying is startling. And I think it is one of the most, I guess the best way to describe it is one of the most grotesque things that I think I have seen. Not that there are not different injustices that Black women and African women face on a daily basis, but it's like we have so many different ideas on how we can uplift our community and make things better for African women. However, if African women and their babies aren't even making it out of the delivery room, what good are all these different interventions if babies and mothers aren't even making it out of the delivery room? I had looked up a statistic in preparation for this just to refresh my memory. And the CDC had reported that, I believe it was 2023, this latest report. So forgive me if there's something newer in 2024 that has come out, or 2025. But this report from the CDC has said that for every 100,000 live births, 50 Black babies do not make it. They pass away. And every other racial group, white, Asian, Latino, has seen a decrease in the Black infant and maternal mortality rate. Yet Black women, it's almost like slowly increasing. It's not going down. And when you look at the rates and other racial demographics, it's dramatically lower, like not over 20. Not that this is something obviously that I'm hoping for any woman to experience, because to lose a child, to lose your life, that is nothing you would wish on someone. But it is really something that we as a people have to really start to consider and look at, because it is just astounding that there isn't a global uproar about something like this, and we oftentimes talk about the system isn't working, we need to fix it. No, the problem is it's almost working too perfectly. A lot of these things, complications, not listening to when Black women are in pain during labor because they presume that we're just invincible, and then you don't give the proper interventions, or not having access to doulas, midwives, lactation specialists. African women have been catching babies before doctors had PhDs at the end of their last name. So it's just, I am really hoping for, in the work that we all do, that we can push ourselves backwards and forwards, if that makes sense. Backwards into going back to get some of those ancestral traditional birthing traditions, and going forward so that we can step out of these statistics that are really alarming. They're not getting better. And to me, if something stays the same, that's almost the same as getting worse. It's not improving, because what we're talking about is losing lives. That's not something we can replace. So in my work as a hair artist, as a literacy advocate, as a storyteller, that is one of my main reasons why I feel like I show up on this earth, is to address this statistic, as a Black mother, as an auntie, as a child of a Black woman. This is not something that I can professionally or personally stand for. So it's just I'm hoping that more conversations like this can be had, so that we can affect policies, because it's just not palatable anymore. It's just not. And sorry, I just wanted to take a beat, because I get really passionate about these things, and let my co-host speak. Sorry, sis, go ahead, take the mic.
Thank you so much. It's such a pathetic case where we see a woman dying with a child. Like a similar case happened some last month, where the woman was taken to the hospital, and because the man could not afford to pay the bill, the woman passed on. So it's a very painful thing. I go on social media almost every day, see different stories of women who die because they don't have access to these things they couldn't afford, or probably because of will I say insensitivity, not registering early for antenatal and things like that. Actually, it's really a painful thing for someone to be pregnant for 9 months and eventually die with the baby. It's a good one to have here. Then I also wanted to talk about your cultural memory or your ancestral wisdom that shape your path as.
I think we hearing our cultural wisdom, and then at that part.
Yeah, just to add on what you said, Dr. Nneka, I think for centuries, indigenous African medicine has sustained us. We have been sustained by the knowledge of ancestors, and the cultural heritage and the practices and the traditions, the rituals, the midwives, the doulas. But now because they were the first contact for the African and Black women. But now I'm not saying that Western medicine is bad. I'm just saying that it's good that we have it, because it's brought so much structure, innovation, and life-saving tools for all women generally. But when we talk about the Western medicine, it's we look at vaccines, we look at surgery, we look at the antibiotics, the analgesics, the medical side. But then I think the biggest problem is that most times it misses the context, the cultural context of the African woman, because African women are actually living in, communities. African women and Black women are people that are very holistic, and medicine to Black people and to Africans is a holistic thing. It's spiritual, it's physical, it's communal, But then what the Western medicine misses most of the time, and I'm saying this as as a doctor, medical doctor from probably practicing the Western medicine, is that we miss the cultural context of the African woman. For example, when you look at Kenya, we have most pastoralist communities have FGM, female genital mutilation, and this FGM is it's normally a very shameful thing when a woman probably comes to the hospital and has to give birth. Other people actually find it very, very disgusting. It's the wrong thing, and these women actually opt to stay and give birth at home, even if they have complications. And that's why we actually have a very high rise of maternal and perinatal mortalities, because these women actually are scared and are shamed when they come to the Western side of medicine. So what would happen if would involved doulas and midwives and probably even medical practitioners that are probably gynecologists and obstetricians to actually see these women not just as people that have gone through these traumas, but then as women who are actually culturally and mentally, physically in a community. So you have to look at it at the bigger picture. You don't just Western medicine mostly focuses on the physical, but then African medicine focuses on the spiritual. It's science and spirit. Yes, that's what I want to say. Science and spirit.
No, that's such a perfect way to say it. And I feel like also Western medicine is reactionary, where I feel like ancestral African medicine, to the point of what you made, it's spiritual, and it's not just looking at when something happens, the after effect. It's taking care of the body, the spirit, and the mind beforehand. So it's not that you won't need any interventions, but if you are truly taking care of the body and the spirit, you are less likely to need all the things that come with Western medicine, which a lot of times can be invasive and harmful and do more harm than the good that it's intending to do. And, outside of that, something else that I wanted to mention before we transgress to our next question, something that I've seen in terms of how African women mother and birth the experience is, say, for instance, in a lot of cultures, not one in specific African cultures, it is normalized for female elders, women, to come around that woman, maybe sometimes live in the home of the mother and help her. But when you look at what is normalized, it's the father, for the most part, if available. But there is, I'm not going to say there's no sense of community, but I think that the intentional ways of coming together and living under the house of the mother and helping her through this process is something that is largely missed. And I think it can be helpful because it helps not just, with the mental health, but just the physicality of mothering and, and getting back into your body after childbirth. And then when you look at how systems of work are set up, right? Maternity leave. For most jobs, you don't have a lot of time to recover. So I think just in general, structurally, in terms of honoring traditional traditions, it is also an issue with just the larger system, which I'm pretty sure we all know within itself. It does not give mothers a chance to heal. It is really an act of God, honestly, for mothers to make it through childbirth, babies to make it through childbirth. So to think that a woman is supposed to go through childbirth and then get right back to work it's almost cruel to not allow a mother sufficient time to heal. But the reality, of it is people need to work, people need to pay rent, people need to survive. And I think that this survivalist mindset has harmed the African woman. It has harmed African babies. And I think that this holistic method that we actually were born into is really our refuge. It is really how we start to undo these statistics that are staggering if you really take the time to look at them. And when you actually take time to sit with mothers who have lost children, it's this way is not working. So it's almost like, the definition of insanity is doing something over and over again, getting the same result, but expecting something different. This is not working for us, so it is just high time that we start to pick up some old texts, some old books, sit at the feet of ancestors that are still with us and just really heed the word. We cannot keep sending our babies home prematurely, and that's just what I believe. So it's just necessary, and I'm really looking forward to more conversations like this, because it is so heartbreaking to the point one of our other panelists before she logged off saying is that every time you log online you see a new story, and it's becoming more and more brutal as time goes on.
Yeah, what you've said on community-centered care and I think the communal health is really, I think it's a very important thing that should be taken into consideration, because when you actually even look at the nuclear family, kind of the modern family, the one that is has parents and probably the kids, and you look at the traditional African family, now there's actually a very high rise of mental health conditions. There's bipolar, there's depression, there's anxiety, there's all this there's a whole spectrum of mental health conditions, and this is mostly because people actually lack that communal support. People are not in communities anymore. I live in my own apartment. I go to my job. I come back in the evening, probably have my pet, and just I have a small little world of mine, and that has been very popularized because of the survival mentality that you've actually talked about. But we need to live. We need to live as Black women. We need sisterhood. We need each other. We need to actually take take ourselves back to the time where we lived in in groups and had this kind of support systems. Most of the time people actually commit suicide even because of the lack of support. But you see, in traditional African communities, it's very rare. I will actually be honest, very rare for someone to actually get all these mental conditions, because you have people that would support you. If it's pregnancy and you're going through probably a hard time, or you have any complication during pregnancy, these older women would come and actually help you, bridge the hard part of the pregnancy, and they would even advise you. And another thing that has actually which brings me to my next point, brings Black women, we have ancestral wisdom that is normally passed to other generations. Then what we don't heed is the fact that we think we're too westernized to actually accept our culture. I wouldn't want to be seen as this traditional Samburu or Maasai woman that is very much into the culture. So there's also that culture shame that has been brought about by the westernization of medicine. I think that we should not try to like fight or adopt new things and forget what we know intrinsically as people. We should try to marry both worlds. Yeah, I think that is the best thing that could ever happen to the African and Black community in general.
If I may interrupt, Daktari. Oh, yes, everyone. Daktari is doctor. That is Swahili. A free lesson for you all. Now that you did mention about culture, I would like you to tell us if you have any more insights on how cultural knowledge can be integrated respectfully in the modern, medicine. Because there are those aspects that are beneficial, very helpful, others that we need to leave behind. How do you think that can be successfully integrated in modern society?
I think I have an unpopular opinion about this, and it came, as soon as you said it, something came to the tip of my tongue, and you let me know how you'll receive this.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it can't be integrated, because to some extent, not everybody will be able to afford a midwife, a doula, lactation specialist, right? But in my experience, I think that traditional medicine is too hostile to Black women and Black babies for it to be successfully integrated on a mass scale. I think it can happen in pockets, but I do not see it happening on a wide scale, because for it to happen on a wide scale, you will have to simply value, respect, and believe Black women.
Oh my goodness, sorry.
Hi, Kitty. It's okay. It's like those things would have to happen. And historically, Malcolm X has said the Black woman is the most disrespected woman in America. That is true, and it is still heavily true. So I'm so happy when I look at Black-owned, Black-led doula, midwife, lactation centers opening, like Jama Village, and other organizations like Breastfeed LA. Like, these are enclaves, and it's almost like you have to build an enclave within the system, and almost like, maybe this is a bad way to say it, but almost like a disease, a good germ, and spread it from the inside, because I don't see it happening on a mass level. The violence is too apparent, it's too proud, and the hatred for Black women is too intentional for it to be mass. That's just my unfavorable opinion. Doctor, what do you think?
I really agree with you totally, actually, because like you've said, it happening on a large mass, like, is gonna be quite a challenge, because like you said, it's quite not everyone can afford it, and also it could be quite brutal on the African women. The thing is, we need to accept also how far we can go with the influence. And, but I think you're totally right. You're right. It's gonna take a long time for us to actually change the narrative. And to come back to Mwalimu Muthoni, Mwalimu actually in Swahili, Dr. Nneka, means teacher. So yes.
Oh, okay. Look at me learning new things today.
Yes. But you are Daktari.
I like
that. Just to get back to you, you said what things we can do to include, to marry both worlds of medicine, indigenous medicine and the Western medicine. I think we're actually doing quite well, especially the government. It's made a small step by including the traditional birth attendants into the delivery system, and normally even in the hospitals we have so we have the doctor, we have the nurse, and then the nurses are normally also the midwives, but now we have the traditional birth attendants at home, So there's also community health promoters. And these are just people in the community that, kind of are traditional, actually, people are just in the homes. So what happens is the hospitals liaise with these traditional birth attendants, The traditional birth attendant is the first contact person to any pregnant mother. So what happens is that when even they bring the patient to the hospital, you'd actually see that they actually know this. They have the wisdom, For example, I actually did not know that delivering while squatting, you know how Africans deliver while squatting, not the conventional way where they lay on their backs on the stretcher. There's different positions that you can actually, I think, maneuver traditionally to actually have a safe delivery. And I really, really think doulas and traditional midwives are good at that, And I have seen them deliver like even very complicated, kinds of deliveries. They would know how to maneuver a cord prolapse. If I got a cord prolapse, I'd probably say cesarean section, But then they know how to do this. So I think more research needs to be done. And like Dr. Nneka said, we need to respect, the traditional aspect of, the indigenous aspect of medicine for us to actually have better outcomes when it comes to maternal and child health. There's also the herbs that we don't, the people take. Maybe also research around those things can actually be done. Nothing is actually hard. Just the way they research on different antibiotics, analgesics, different kinds of innovations in terms of diagnostics and surgeries, we can still do that to the African herbs. Because normally at times when you actually do take them, they actually do work. It's just that maybe the dosage is what we do not know. And we do not know probably the composition. We just need to accept the context of the African culture and respect it.
If I may, there's something I'm hopeful for, because I'm hoping for an increased dialogue between Black women in the U.S. and Black women on the diaspora, because it's not to presume all African women living on the continent know all the tricks, traits to having a successful birth, but you're a tad bit closer to the source. And I think that when you look at Black women in the United States, many of us, like I'm able to know where I come from and trace my there's a gap in access, right, to one's cultural identity. So it's like, if I don't know where I came from, how can I attach myself to certain birthing and laboring traditions, if that makes sense. So I'm hoping for an increased dialogue there. And then also education is a really big thing. There are not a lot of Black-led educational programs to help teach, not even just indigenous ways, but just say, for instance, there's just not a lot of programs or schools where you can go study this and learn these specific ways. You know, where I am currently right now in Buffalo, New York, a city that is beautiful. It's known as the city of good neighbors, but it does have a lot of like racial undertones. There's not a single, guys, just a minute. Oops, sorry. There's not a single Black midwife in the city. There's someone that I know who is training, and I believe she will be the first. But there's no Black midwife in the city. And there are situations like that in many other cities in the United States where there is a lack of representation, or they're just simply too far away for moms to access. So those two things I'm really hoping will change in the coming years.
Thank you so much, Daktari, for sharing your insights and your expertise, of course. And I hope that these are discussions that we can push for in different forums outside this space and in a space like this, maybe in the future, because they're really important. if I may ask, I know you're an artist, African hair artist. About your hair.
No problem. Listen, I get the questions all the time, mostly from children who are staring and what's going on. So no, it's completely fine.
All right. I thought in African societies, hair has been, behind the story of identity and healing of women. I don't know, when you're doing your adornment, how do you do that to make sure that you bring or you help African women experience healing through your art? How do you do that?
For me, so I've self-appointed myself an African hair griot, and griot, as we all know, is just a West African term for storyteller. So a lot of times I pull from texts, which I have one. It's pretty big here. I do a lot of research. So I have a lot of big, heavy books like this to help me understand the specifics of certain styles. And I am a photographer and a Black maternity artist. So almost always, the muse for my creative projects will be a pregnant Black woman, especially one that represents diverse body size. So I will not only create beautiful images, but their hair is a part of it. Our hair has lived experiences, and it's not just about adornment. So a lot of times when I might be doing braids or styling the afro of a mom, I'm talking to them about the tools that I'm using. I'm talking to them about the importance of cowrie shells and other things that are going into their hair design. So it becomes a process where it's not just about beautification, but it's healing through knowledge. It's healing through our hair. So every time that I do a photo shoot, it is almost always inspired by a particular indigenous style that has its own story behind it. So in that way, I invite hair as almost a tool or a conduit to uplifting and just making Black women feel beautiful. Because a lot of times when we look at maternity photos and that whole aesthetic, it is a very narrow view of what is seen as beautiful when someone is pregnant. So for me, I really want to change the narrative of when you think of beautiful Black pregnant bodies, think of this illustrious hair. You think of this beautiful, dark, rich skin that, yes, sometimes have stretch marks, all of it. So that hair is a tool. It is a communication tool. And I don't think that we sometimes give it the credit that it deserves. It is a way that keeps us tethered to our ancestors. And that's how I kind of created or integrated into my creative process.
Thank you so much. Now I really do understand the story behind the creative African storytelling when you're doing your hair. Thank you so much. Now we gotta wrap up, and I will ask you both a question. What is one healing practice that you would want every African woman to know or practice, whether medical, cultural?
Mayian? Yeah. I'm so sorry, guys. It's raining a lot on this side. I think it's just a Kenyan thing now. So what I would personally, I think, have like a take home for any African woman is that medically speaking, we need to do more tests. We need to go and get screened. We need to prioritize, put ourselves forward, because growing up and also seeing being in an African setup, not so much self-love has been preached to us. So these are things that you have to learn on the job of living. You have to prioritize your health. You have to put yourself forward. Remember, as within, so without. So what we see on the outside, like how Dr. Nneka is looking like a whole queen, that's definitely how she is inside. So I'm thinking that as Black women, we need to prioritize our health. Go for those checkups, be it twice a year, be it once a year, as long as you have your results and you know what's happening in your body. Because I think working in a hospital, I have seen that so many Black women come when disease has already taken over almost the whole body, maybe a small lump on your breast, and you're like, maybe I'll just check it out sometime. You have a hemorrhoid, from probably giving birth, and the pressure on the pelvic floor, and you just ignore it. Or you Google things and you decide that's how it's gonna be. No. What we need to do is we need to put ourselves first, and we need to go for those checkups, and we need to actually teach the generations that are behind us to prioritize their health. And yes, thank you guys.
Thank you so much for that. The thing that I would add is get really good at staffing your life. When we go work at corporations, there is a CEO, there is a janitor, there is somebody to play a role in every position so that this organization can function normally. So in looking at yourself that way, staff your life, meaning who is going to be your spiritual advisor? Who is going to be that person that will answer when you need to talk to someone at 3 a.m. and if your partner, whether you have one or not, cannot have access to you. And also the other thing is relinquish the toxic trope of being a strong Black woman. It is a facade. You cannot do it alone. You were never meant to do it alone. And it is not normal. It is not humane. So honestly, that more than anything, relinquish that trope. So being strong, and I don't need anybody, and I can do this, and I got this, will put you in a situation where you and your baby may not be okay. And it's not worth it. Let that go. We are women. This is, especially being pregnant, that is a time where you are allowed to be exceptionally lazy and vulnerable. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Put the cake down. It's okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That is really insightful. Black woman, love yourself, take care of yourself. Thank you so much, doctors. Dr. Nneka, Dr. Mayian, thank you so much for coming. And Dr. Mayian, thank you for going overseas to study and coming back to give back to the community. We cannot thank you enough.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Thank you so much. All right. So this next session, this segment, we talk about land, legacy, and farming. And without wasting much time, I'm gonna welcome our next guest. Hi, brother. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Thank you. Over this side, we are already 4 p.m. Yeah. How is your day going?
Yeah, it's 6:14 a.m. here in Vancouver time.
All right. Welcome to the broadcast. Please introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little about yourself.
Oh, my name is TK Ajayi. I'm based in Vancouver, Canada. I am the founder of Canadian Black Farmers Association. I've been a long time farmer. I've been farming since when I was 5 years old with my grandparents. So farming is my DNA, and so it should be in the DNA of 99.9% of Africans, or Black persons worldwide. If I will remind everybody, the reason why our ancestors were brought to the West was to come and farm, to help them farm the land, because we are the people of the soil. We know what grows on the ground, and our soil can grow anything compared to any other place in the world. So we are born farmers, and we are the food providers. I always tell people, I say the culture that was added to the word are Greek. We are the culture. So we are the culture that made agriculture what it is today, because it's our way of life. It's who we are. So I've been a farmer here in Canada, practicing it, probably lone farmer for the past 23 years. I've yet to meet another black person across Canada who has been farming that more than that. Or it might be farming, but actually not been practicing it like in a level and honing his own farm and running it like it should be uh, nationally here. So thank you for having me here.
We are very happy to have you too, brother. On to my first question. Before that, you mentioned about growing own food. You know, they say when we grow our own food, we grow our power. So it is really important. I'm happy that we are having this conversation. And you know, land has been at the heart of our, stories. What does it really mean to you and the association that you work with?
Yeah, in fact, the drive behind me creating Canadian Black Farmers was because of the same thing you just mentioned. I realized that many of our people, when they get to the West, they don't look into the area of owning lands because lands is the biggest investment. Forget the money you are putting in the bank. When you own the land, not leasing, owning it, it's almost it's a wealth transfer. It's a secured. You are pretty much securing future for your coming generation. When we came to the West, we don't even pay attention to how the West have been able to retain their wealth and their own get hold of everything as it is now. It's because their grandparents grab the land, they own it, they make it their own, and they're able to pass it down to the upcoming generation. No matter where you go in the West, it's the same system, it's the same thing. Owning land is very important. I realize, I said, why our people not really, they just, everybody want to be in the city. We all came from the village, so we came here, we want to just stay in the city. We're not thinking of exploring what our real identity as a born food producer, food maker, farmer. So I decided to say to do something that is people think it's a little crazy. Then they believe something was wrong with me. I left the city and I started farming the countryside, like an hour away from the city. Till today, it's the best decision I've ever made. People that used to ask me then, what are you doing? Are you okay? Why are you going to the bush? You left the bush in Africa now you are coming here to enter the bush again. I said, it's not about me going to the bush. It's about me. Want to have a sense of belonging. I am here. I am setting my foot down. I am planting my roots here. And my coming generation, we also have it there when they come to lay an example for our community and let them see that land, owning it, it's a sense of owning that environment where you are. And when you have that, there's a lot of opportunity that can open from there. And I'm glad today that is what has been happening. And a lot of people now are coming on board. A lot of people in our community, especially the women, they are really coming on board. They are really, the message I'm conveying is resonating to them, and they are the ones that have been leading the charge. I've been one of I wanted to be part of the movement for us to be able to have a sense of belonging, honing, where we are, be having a sense of belonging to that area and making use of it to benefit us and benefit our greater black community. So this has been a long, and since I've been farming this land now, I've been getting the word out, talking to a lot of different people from different background in all our communities. Everybody has been uh, heavily accepted. Like the reception is massive. People wanted to know more. One thing I realized about our people is our people is about seeing what we see we tend to believe that more. But when we don't see, when it's not right in front in front of us, we tend to be a little bit doubting it. But once we are able to showcase what we want to do, what we are doing, it makes it much easier for our people to follow. And that's one of the reasons you have to lead by example. And I sacrifice a lot. That's why I decided to say, okay, I gotta show our people, not just talking about it, actually doing it. And a lot of people have seen the exemplary life I've lived and the way I've done it, and they are following it a lot. And I get 10, 15, 20 messages a day, Zoom, sometimes 5 to 8 Zoom daily, talking to people from everywhere globally since a lot of people have been noticing what I've been doing in Canada, growing our culturally preferred food locally here and creating a sustainable economy for our Black community as a whole.
Toyin, I have a question for you. This is Shayla. Hi. I'm so excited to speak to you because what you're doing is really historical in Canada. So this is like, I feel like a child in like a sugary chocolate and candy factory right now. I am also learning about seed and the legacy of seed as well. I'm actually in a seed class right now. And one of the things I'm learning is about heirloom seeds, right? Because right now, what's going on in the world, as much of us know, a lot of the plants that we're eating are GMO, especially in the United States. Probably the same in Canada. It's probably a little bit better in Canada. But in the United States, there's literally, if you guys, especially continental Africans, if you can believe this, there's seedless fruit, which I call it non-binary fruit. People laugh at me, but it is literally non-binary fruit, which is unnatural. So how are you combating heirloom seed and putting it in display to where we still have seeded fruits and seeded vegetables?
Thank you for that question. This has been my main point of operation now, because all I eat, I only eat organic food, and I make sure it's verifiable, self-grown organic food. The seed I've been using here came from my sister farm in Nigeria. In Nigeria, I have approximately like 500, like close to like 500 acres of farmland in Nigeria, and nothing is used there. Everything that is grown there is from the village. When you go back to the village back home, you can find the original seed, and there my practice is original seeds. Not when you're talking about these heirlooms, but it's very funny. When growing up, tomatoes, they made us start to think like our tomatoes, our local tomatoes, these are real organic, strictly um, non-GM, nothing. Not even, they don't even use fertilizers to grow anything there because the soil is so rich. And those tomatoes, they made us believe that, oh, it's very local, it's not too advanced. They start to preach advancement into everything. I'm now teaching our people, say you have to go back to that all those heirloom tomatoes that actually is beneficial, is good, is what you needed. So I'm glad that being here, 99% of the seed I use, I know where it came from. It came from my farm in Nigeria. I'm using it, that's the same thing I'm using here. And even here, I have never used any fertilizer. Everything I've used is natural, organic matter. Maybe along the way, maybe something might fall into it, but I've never used anything direct, to be precise on that. Everything is all natural soil, clay, silt, and sand, which created loam soil. Anything you growing, you see some of this, what you're just saying now, seedless things, seedless that. I know there is, but I make sure that Everything I put in the soil that I created to grow what I'm gonna eat, because I preach grow what you eat and eat what you grow. Know where your food came from. Very important. See, as I am here, I will knock wood. The food that you eat is your health. That's it. It's some last week I was having it's like what we have to start doing is that listen to your inner being, because your inner being will tell if you have headache, your mind will your inner person will tell you, oh, have you taken this? If you listen to that, if you go boom to it, gone. So a friend of mine was like, I'm having a stuffy nose. I don't know what's wrong with my plugged ear, whatever. I said, have you taken any cloves? He said, cloves? Oh, why do you say that? What side are you having issue? This side. Grab one pinch of one little bit of snow cloves like this. Eat it on this side. Tell me something in 5 minutes. He said you can't be serious. So when we talk about natural things, we are very natural person, and I preach it to everybody. I said, watch what you eat. It's better to grow what you eat and eat what you grow, or create a way whereby other people can benefit from that. So I've never even practiced or even think of entertaining anything like GMOized, whatever. So I made sure I created something very solid that can sustain my seed. They collected millions and billions of seed in my other farm. It's almost like I'm seeding the farm. So that I can get to pass it on to other people. I know there is a plan in place. They didn't want us to be bringing seed or using seed, but thank God we have the seed that we are growing here, and once we started growing it, we started harvesting more and keeping more with us there. So, like what I did in Canada, the trick that I was able to grow African vegetables and crops and everything here was the soil I created locally here. Because in Africa, everything is together, but here, different. Clay here, silt here, sand here. I brought it together, and started to use my goats. My goats are foragers, foraging. They are foraging. So I use their manure, mix it with my soil, and everything's growing beautifully. So that's the trick. And it's been working amazingly, and a lot of people are learning, and it's things that people don't even believe is possible to grow here. It has grown. It has grown, and I've never used anything that is unnatural to what I've been growing. So I'm employing everybody to practice the same thing. Now, a lot of people are asking for the soil now. I'm packaging the soil now in bags. So try to make sure that spring is here now. People are already trying to order, but I'm just trying to put it in place and shipping it out to different people so that people can start from their backyard to the table or their patio, balcony to the table. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Farm to table, farm to table. And I had a one final question for you. This is kind of a bigger question. I hope we can talk about it in the space of an allotment of time that we have. But for you, where do you hope to see Black farming go? Because like you said, people, and you mentioned this, people are waking up and they're like, wait a second, I need food with seeds. I need natural foods. I need non-insecticides, pesticide foods. So where do you want to see this movement go? How far do you want it to reach? And where do you want your legacy to be held?
Mine is to, I think at the point where I am information is very powerful. Once you get the information out, in fact, I've been trying for past 15 years to get the word that is now getting out for the past couple of months in a massive way through the social media. Now, for past 15 years, I've been trying to push that word out. I think everything is time. Everything is time. I think the time is now, right? Because if you look at globally, food security is number one. Anywhere you turn to, anywhere worldwide now, food food security is number one. So I think the time is right for our people, and it's also good to be able to create a sustainable economy for our black community. Not about just growing it alone. I have looked, I have researched, I've seen, I've seen, what I came up with is my final conclusion was one of the best and easiest way for the black community to grow and create a sustainable economy, no matter where we are globally, is through our food. What was the solution? Finding a way to grow our common, even just the vegetables. That alone, instead of importing the food that we still eat. It's like that everywhere in the Western world. All the food that most Africans or even Caribbean people they still bring it from their country of origin. Have we thought about growing that food locally where we are in the West? That is a form of that's the kind of a way that we can create a sustainable economy for our community and create a generational wealth for our people. So this message is for every people in the black community, in the diaspora, globally, locally. Please yield to this because we have no choice. Food security, food sovereignty is number one everywhere, every government. So it's one way that we, people of Africa, the black community of Jamaica, if we start to think of growing those food that we still bring from our country of origin locally where we are, we can use that to revolutionize and create a sustainable economy in our community. I have seen it, there's nothing else. It's like we want to keep money in our community. If we grow our food, if A grow the food, grow one, let's say one vegetable, the other one grows another vegetable, this one grows another type of yam or this, we can harness all those together. The economy starts to circulate. We grow it, we sell it, we buy it, we produce it down the value chain. We've created a powerful everything. The most powerful weapon in the world is food. If you want to win a war, it's food. If you want to start a war, you can start with food. So we have the same tool. We just have to. I'm just starting this. I sacrificed so much to get to where I am, where I was able to come up with the idea of this. People think I'm crazy. I said I'm not crazy. I said I just stop. I refuse to be normal because being normal is not good enough. I started being abnormal. So to call me crazy. Being abnormal is thinking out of the norm. Be abnormal. If you are normal, no, you are not doing something right. When they say you are abnormal, no, you are growing extra mile. So
I agree 100%, Toyin. I was called crazy like a couple of years ago. I said I want to go back home. I want to go to Africa. I want to go.
I think the internet is slow on that side.
I think our sister went down a little, and yes, the rain is doing that thing again. We have such a heavy downpour here. So, sister, if you're back on, please pick up from where you left because I didn't hear nothing.
Yeah, I mean, on the continent off, we have some internet issues. That's okay. But the point I was making was, you have to go the next step, and people are going to think you're crazy when you're taking an unorthodox step, an uncommon pathway, right? They're going to think you're crazy. But then when they see the fruits, literally, because we're talking about food sovereignty, right? When they see the fruits of your labor, they go, aha. And they follow. So we just have to create more followers to understand.
Our people is about seeing. And that is one of the things that I keyed into 6 years ago. I said, I used to drive 20 minutes to my office. And I said, you know what? I think I'm tired of just talking. I want to let our people come and see. Put it out. Some of them I've seen it, but I said, getting into growing our crops and vegetables now that we are everywhere. Like for example, Jamaican eats almost Jamaican or African, we eat same thing. Same thing. So I said, come on, I'm gonna get out of the city. I now drove 1.5 hours out of the city. I bought a farmland. I said I'm gonna turn this farm to my lab, my like it's like my where I'm just experimenting everything. So now I now drive 4 hours to and fro work. It's supposed to be less than an hour. So I said I will make the sacrifice, and it's for the community. It's for the growth, for the betterment of our community. I'm employing anybody out there, anywhere you might be in the world. You can reach out to us. Sacrifice to help your community. It's not about you. We are a community. We have to, whatever you are given, whatever you are endowed with knowledge and everything, find a way to pass it, to use it to benefit your community. If you cannot use what you are endowed with and what you are given, a talent or anything that you are, a position where you are put today, if you cannot use that to benefit or empower your your community, you better not even have it, because it's only half given to you, because you are supposed to use that to help other people, and especially your community. And that's what I'll be doing. And it costs a lot, but guess what? The result, it's really worth it.
I really love that. And thank you so much, Twin, for joining us. Could you give everyone your website and so forth so people know how to connect with you?
So if you want to connect with us, just go to CanadianBlackFarmers.ca, not .com, .ca. Canadian Black Farmers. CanadianBlackFarmers.ca. Or you can also type tkajayi.com. I help people with business empowerment, help you. I consult with people. I help you get started with a lot of things. And I'm not just a grower. I also produce food. I know how to preserve food in the naturalest way. Anything I grow is what I preserve, and I pass it on. Even with my food bank, whatever I grow, I use that to supply my food bank to support our community. Everything is beyond us. We should always find a way to empower and support our community, no matter where you are, whatever position you are put in place. So check me out, CanadianBlackFarmers.ca. It doesn't matter where you are. I've had people contact me from all over Europe, New Zealand, and everywhere. US, a lot of people from US too. Even they are asking me if I can consult for them. I'm available. I can consult. If you're a youth organization, especially youth, women. And one thing I want to point out is that since all this has been happening, I want to ask you guys. I'm not surprised. Women are the one that are here now again. Women has been the one. I'll break something to you. For the past 2 months, 95% of the people that have been responding, not just responding, that are actually taking initiatives, are women. Are women. And they are actually going to the extent of buying farmland now. I'm trying to understand. I know our men are there, but to my own understanding, I think maybe because the women that feed the home. I guess they are the Mama Africa. I guess technically women are the one that runs the home, actually. Because every initiative I've seen so far, people that are actually putting their money where their mouth is are the women. So I want to learn something a little bit from you guys too before I go. Please help me explain that.
I think you did a good job, which is we take care of the home. We want to make sure that the bellies that we fill, it's actually nourishment. It's not GMO. It's not insecticide. It's not pesticides. It's something that will help us heal and not something that's going to cause boils or cancer or any of those things that have been affecting the population, specifically in that diaspora, because we're eating shelf-stable foods right? And so we're noticing as women that our little girls are starting to get their menstruals early, right? That's unnatural. We're starting to notice things that's affecting us on a DNA basis, right? And I think we, like you mentioned, we go back almost like a Sankofa, but food Sankofa, where you're going back, but then you're looking at what are we eating differently than we ate when we used to be on farm land, right? Aha, we're eating at McDonald's. Aha, we're eating at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Aha, we're having cereal that is shelf stable. And we're like, okay, let's take our hands and let's create our own futures. Let's create our own ways, our own pathways of healing our people. What do you think, Mutoni? That's my take on it.
You know, I'm gonna just sum everything with saying that our legacy is rooted in the soil. Says that when we reclaim the soil, we are reclaiming our future. Let us invest in the land, cultivate it, grow our own food, clean food, natural everything, and we regain our power. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. See you next time. Thank you for the opportunity, and I wish you good luck. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. All right, our next segment, which is our last segment. Oh my goodness, guys, we are coming to the end of the show just about. Of course, we have to end it in a large, beautiful, beautiful way. So we've learned about legacy and history at this point and how to regain and reclaim our languages. We learned about the women womb and how to take control of who we are as Black women in the diaspora and on the continent as well with Dr. Nneka and Dr. Mayian. Now we learned about Black farming and food sovereignty. So we're bringing it home. We're literally bringing it home with some of our next guests who have repatriated back to mother. So let's bring up first Mansa Fode. How about my Fode?
Greetings.
Before I bring up the other ladies, hold on. I'm gonna do something really, really special for him. Really, really special for him. Ready? I wish I could sing it in Swahili, but I can't. But I'm gonna go ahead and sing it the way I can sing it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear brother Fode. Happy birthday to you. He just had a birthday, guys. So now you and I are officially the uncles and the aunties of the diaspora and so forth.
Absolutely. You're doing the work.
Yes, we have to. Got to create the legacy. We have to formulate the future. I'm going to bring up our sisters now, Miss Akani. Hello, Dada. And then Miss Zoe.
Hello.
Hi. So we're going to first start with Mansa Fode. And we're going to hear about you first and just make sure we understand your journey. Then we don't bring up everyone at a time and so they can speak about their journey. And then we'll bring you all together. But first, you're up.
All right. So my name is Chief Fode Ajamu Mansa Ray. I also go by Mansa Fode Ajamu, which is the same name. Chief and Mansa is the same title. I just prefer to go by Mansa Fode Ajamu in the traditional way. But I'm originally born in the United States of America, Gullah Geechee by ancestry, by heritage. And I've been a Pan-Africanist for about 26 years of my life. I've been actively involved in the struggle from community organizing to political organizing. And ultimately, I got involved in international Pan-African organizing in the early 2000s. That journey led me back home. In 2007, I met some brothers and sisters that was organizing Pan-Africanism in Sierra Leone. I reached out. We started building relationships. Ultimately, in 2013, I moved here. Originally, I didn't know it was going to be a full repatriation, but I was down with whatever it was going to be. At that time, I had come completely disillusioned about America. I had wanted to come to Africa for a very long time. so I can get a closer look, so I can understand it by living there, as opposed to just always through a book or asking someone else. So I was very, very curious about Africa. And I'm a member of several organizations. I'm a member of the UNIAACL, RC 2020, on which I serve as the third assistant president general, based here in Freetown. We have a One Africa Commission that oversees the development of Garveyism on the continent that I actually lead up. I'm also a member of the Gullah Nation of North America, which is a community of Gullah Gigi descendants. And, you know, we believe in practicing self-determination as much as possible to the fullest extent for ourselves. That's how I got the title chief. I was chosen by my community to represent as the head of the community. And then also there's the Black Star Action Network International, through which we do various programs. We have the Ashe Collective, which is an African State of Emergency collective, focusing on security and safety for traveling diasporans to the continent. We also have the Mosiah Academy Leadership Institute, teaching Pan-Africanism online and in real life in the communities. And we do a lot with helping the diaspora return to Freetown, to Sierra Leone. Me and my wife, we own a company. We do tourism, we do consultancy, we do business management. We do a lot of different business services that appeal to the diaspora that we really need. When you come out here, you'll understand it, that if we don't have our own service sector, we can't provide services to each other, then we're just going to be preyed on. It's just simple. It's as simple as that. And so we're trying to deal with the realities as much as possible. But that's who I am, to cut it short. Merci for the Jamu.
Hi.
Hi, Sister Zoe.
It's a pleasure to finally connect.
Likewise. Tell us your story quickly, and then we'll move with Connie, and then we'll bring everyone on. Yes,
that's what I feel like. I want to join all of Mansa's organizations. It sounds amazing. So I'm Zoe Smith, originally born in the UK, as you can tell from my accent. I am in Grenada, West Indies. I've been here probably for about 4 years. And with the Exodus Collective, what we do is to encourage those in the African diaspora to reconnect with the Caribbean, which is a region that often gets slept on for a number of reasons. But yeah, we kind of started in response to the murder of George Floyd, where people were looking for safer spaces in which to be, predominantly Black spaces. And yeah, we just started telling the stories of people who made the move from Europe, from the UK, from North America to the Caribbean, and just showing that it's something that can be achievable by people from any walk of life. And yeah, what I'm loving about this conversation is that just before I left the UK to move to Grenada, I did my DNA testing and found out that I'm 90% African. And in recent weeks, I've gone even deeper and found out that Benin and Nigeria are where I'm from. And I know I'm an Igbo from Abia State in Nigeria. So it's just really beautiful to be connected with other people who are kind of joining that dots, and also understanding how in each destination we have wisdom that we need to share with each other. So as much as I'm about folks in the North connecting to the Caribbean, also joining those dots between the Caribbean and Africa is something that I'm incredibly passionate about. And here in Grenada in July, we're actually hosting the Afrexim Bank Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. So that's a really solid way in which folks in the Caribbean are really looking to reestablish those linkages. And for me, while the economics is exceptionally exciting, the cultural, the spiritual, like those aspects are really what brings me alive. So yeah, it's just a real pleasure to be in conversation with such brilliant people. And thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. It's going to be a beautiful moment.
I didn't catch your question, but I might put myself on mute in case you wanted someone else to speak. Or am I stuck?
I can hear you.
You can hear me.
I can't hear her at all.
Should we guess what the question was? Now I seem to be the okay.
There. Okay, I have it somewhat in the layout I went to. Apparently, I'm having internet issues too. But but Akani, I wanted to hear about your story next. There. Okay,
Oh,
Akani.
does that mean it's my
I think I'm
turn?
back, and I think we were having internet issues. I would like to hear about your story, please.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for the patience that you have exhibited through this entire process. And thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this. I'm really excited to be a part of this and to talk to everyone. And it's nice to meet some people who I follow on Facebook. It's good to kind of communicate and hear from you in person. My name is Akani Thomas Addison, and I am a Cleveland, Ohio native. And I moved to Ghana 6 years ago because I fell in love with my dream man. Our love story is a fairy tale for the books that has come true. And so in moving from Cleveland, Ohio, I was really blessed to be able to have an Afrocentric background. My mother is a master drummer. My father has always been into Egyptian and Ma'at and all of the things dealing with North Africa and West Africa. And so I was raised in a very eclectic Afrocentric environment, which allowed me to assimilate, or I should say integrate, not so much assimilate, but integrate a lot easier when it came time for me to manifest my man. So I moved here, like I said, 6 years ago, and my background in the United States was community organizing, early childhood education, anything dealing with community building. And then when I moved here, my husband was already in the tourism industry and real estate industry. And so it was a natural thing for me to do is to support the business that he was surviving off of, and so I got into the tourism industry and began to learn a lot about the landscape of the industry here in Ghana. And I saw that there was an opportunity for us to really carve out our niche as a destination management company and do more than basic tourism. And I'm not knocking basic tourism. It's amazing. And it gives people an opportunity to see the country. But our company, Pride of Ghana Travel and Tours, we are, sorry, let me turn off these dings. We are we specialize in niche tourism, so business to business. We help organizations and companies and small businesses who are thinking of either expanding to Ghana or starting a business in Ghana or just having meetings and connecting and networking with Ghanaians. We specialize in bringing them here to create these partnerships. And then we also do niche tours, like we offer a tour for wellness. We offer a tour for rich aunties. We offer a tour for Gen Zers. So we really focus on niche groups within the diaspora. So that's one thing that I do. That's how we earn a living here. And it allows me to see the country, which I also love. When I moved 6 years ago, my mom moved with me. And then a year and a half later, my daughter moved, and she moved here when she was just pregnant with like maybe 3 months pregnant with my granddaughter. And so my granddaughter was born here. My son also lived here for a couple of years. My brother lived here for a year or so. So I have been blessed to have family here with me this entire 6 years. And so now my daughter, who has been living in Ghana now for almost 4 years, she has joined me and another sister who is from Cleveland, and we have started our own fabric line, which is super exciting, and it's called Love Soul Legacy. It is based on the Underground Railroad quilt codes, and so we ask everyone who has a connection to the transatlantic trade of human beings in the United States to definitely join us as we create our own identity through our own cloth. Kind of like other cultures have their own cloth and symbols, we do too. And so we're just making it fashionable to wear our freedom. And so I hope you guys all follow Love Soul Legacy. And I hope you all follow Pride of Ghana Travel and Tours. And that's just a little bit about me.
Here I go. Sorry. I always do that and I forget to unmic or put myself back on mic. I did have a question, and anyone can take a stab at this. So I have obviously been to the continent several times at this point, and my reality and the myth behind it were totally different. So my question is this: what myths or fears did you guys have about expatting or returning? And what did you have to unlearn versus the reality of things where you're at currently? Who wants to take a stab at it?
I didn't hear the question.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. So when you returned or when you expated, there are things that are myths and fears. What is that comparable to the reality of where you live at versus the myths and the fears? Like, again, I've been there. There's a lot of things quite different than what reality was. And so I want to hear, what are those comparisons? Yes. Chief Fodi, I hear you. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. So for me, I came to Sierra Leone, West Africa. All right. And for all of us know that Sierra Leone, West Africa is supposed to be a very war-torn, nasty place, right? But it's also the first place where Africans from the diaspora chose to return to. Long before there was a Ghana, there was a Freetown. Freetown came first. So I'm in Freetown. We got black money here. Black people want money, right? So it was a lot of stigmas around that. Even when I was coming, I was telling my family, I'm going to that country. They was like, oh man, you gonna be all right? You need a gun? You know, they still fighting war. And so there was a lot of mythology. And it's unfortunate, but it was painted by Hollywood and painted by Western media. Concerning some of the stigmas that we have related to this country being war-torn. There was an 11-year conflict here from 1991 to 2002. And if you look at just like the information that's out there easily available, it appeared to you like this is a devastating, nasty, dirty place you would never want to be. And so when I got here, my ideal was that, you know, I'm parachuting in from above. I'm gonna land on the ground, and we organizing. We trying to save some lives. We trying to get the youth organized and dig some wells and start some programs, right? So when I came here, I came to organize. I didn't come here to get rich. I didn't come here to find a wife. I came here to get organized, to extend my organizing, my activism from the States to the continent as representative of a whole movement of people that I belong to. So it was like expansion of the movement here. And nobody had really done that in this country for that purpose, at least since the end of the war. So I'm a pioneer here. I was able to get here before Ebola. I was able to get here before citizenships, all of that stuff, and play a key role in those things. So I think that through learning through it, through living through it, I realized that some of the mythologies that was in my head about the people, that every other person was going to have a limb cut off, that you know, it was just false. And then I realized that when I got here, the people here, they hated the movie Blood Diamonds. I said, why? I said, y'all hate the Blood Diamonds, and it was like, well, it wasn't filmed.
Chief Fode, we can't hear you. Something happened with the audio. The audio cut. You were at it, and then the audio just. We can't hear you. Something happened.
Yeah, I can't hear. Just in case you can't come back on, can I share mine? Yeah?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah, so I think for me, the unlearning is definitely realizing the extent to which I was colonized in my thinking. And I think quite often we as Black folks moving to another place where there are other Black folks, we think, okay, we're just kin, we're just one. And actually, there's a lot of unlearning of the extent to which we can actually be neo-colonizers, and that humility and that patience and taking time to listen rather than to impose and like thinking that I'm going to save people. That's definitely been something that I've had to take a lot of time to get to grips with. Everyone else is frozen, so I'm hoping you guys can still hear me. But yeah, like
we can hear you. We can hear you.
Awesome. Yeah, my master's is in international development with a specialism in African government and politics, right? So I had the credentials. I thought, cool, I'm going to be good. I'm not going to be like one of these people. And yet there have been many times where I've had to be schooled by people to be like, well, no, the assumptions that you have are based on your Western way of doing things, and that's not how we do things here. Like, yes, the economy might be slightly different to what you're used to, but that doesn't mean that we don't have agency and that our culture doesn't deserve respect. And I think sometimes that can be quite a triggering conversation, because I definitely feel like in the UK, as Black folks, we feel like we've been oppressed. We have a right to kind of claim identity. And yet still, we do often have relative privilege in comparison to some folks in the Caribbean and some folks on the African continent, and recognizing that and understanding that sometimes you need to take a backseat and let other people lead, or learn how to use your privilege for the sake of others rather than, just hoarding what you can. Because yeah, I definitely see Black folks who at times don't act that differently from white people. It's just a different skin color. So that is, it's not an easy thing to have to unlearn, but I think it's really, really necessary. And I think if folks are hearing that and feeling kind of triggered, that's good. Like, I felt triggered too, but if you lean into it, it's gonna make your process of integrating easier. And it's also gonna make your process of being of benefit to the nation that you're going to more impactful. Because I think a lot of us are escaping, and it's nice that we have the privilege and the passports to escape. But what about the people that you're going to who don't have that luxury? How are you actually going to be of benefit to them and their community? And I think that's an essential thing to think about. It's an essential thing for white folks to think about, but I think it's also an essential thing for us as Black folks to think about, because we need to do better. We can be better, so we should do better. So yeah, that's what I would share. And that's one of the things that I help people with as well. We talk about it quite a lot on our YouTube channel. And I'm sure all of you in all of the countries that you are can recognize echoes of that. But yeah, that's been my journey.
Thank you so much. And Mansafode, can you continue as well?
Can y'all hear me now? Okay, where was I at? Where did I leave off at? You remember where I left off at?
Because we lost your sound, we don't really know where you left off.
You were talking about getting in there before Ebola, before.
Okay. Yeah. So the thing was that I had an opportunity to live here among the people through crisis. I was here during Ebola time, and I was able to live here during crisis and see how Ebola crisis was being projected to the world versus what was really happening on the ground. And I was able to see how media plays, a mirror trick almost with our issues. And if we're not on the ground, then we miss out on the key information we need to make the right decisions. And so I think that was one of the first things. I found the people here to be very friendly, also to be very resilient, very well organized. The people here, they understand crisis, they understand struggle, And when it's a situation of survival, they have societies in place, women's societies, men's societies. They have a culture of survival here, and so I felt safe here, more among the people, because the people already knew how to deal with crisis. They already knew how to deal with bad situations, and I felt at home because of that. Coming from the hood in America, I felt like, oh yeah, these are my kind of people. They know how to survive. So that was one of the misconceptions I had. One of the myths that I had was that somehow these people were innocent victims of a nasty genocidal war, and they basically need all the help of the world to survive. But the people here survive. The people here are not what they're portrayed as. And, you look now, you have over 450 Africans from the diaspora who've taken DNA tests and come back to get their citizenships in this country. The country has a Pan-African history. It has a history of repatriation. It has a history of African, American, and African Caribbean people working together as expats on the continent here in this country, as well as Liberia. So, I had to face those misconceptions. That was the myths that I really had to face. Our people are beautiful. There's nothing, we need our people. Yeah, we need our people.
Absolutely. Akani, same question for you. Do you remember the question you need me to tell you? Like, what's the difference between like the reality versus the myth in Ghana?
Well, I think I came a little more prepared because both of my parents had already been to Ghana before, like in my growing up and in my life. So I had seen pictures, I had heard stories, and then my mom owned an African dance company like my entire life. So we always had guest artists from Senegal, from Ghana, from Sierra Leone, from everywhere, West Nigeria, from Benin. And then she's also a Yoruba priestess. And so I was just exposed, and so what surprised me, I would say, more than anything wasn't what I found on the ground, but what I found in me. Like the sister was saying, Zoe, I never would have thought of myself as a colonizer or an elitist coming from Cleveland, Ohio. I've never been bougie, you know what I mean? So I was like, I'll be fine. But what I learned is Black privilege is a thing. And I have to still, 6 years in, check myself on it. When I first came to Ghana, I came as a tourist. So I came in 2018 on a gift from my dad. And I came in within my mind, like I'm coming on this spiritual journey to reconnect for myself, And that experience as a tourist versus the experience of living in Ghana and seeing the apathy, the same apathy that I saw in the hood in the US, I see here. The same symptoms of depression I see here. And me coming in with all of my Black privilege and saying how if they could just see it this way, if they could just stop trying to leave, if they could just, I had to learn to check myself. My husband said to me one day, he's like, you always say that in America it's like this. In America it's like that. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. Like I didn't realize that I was making the comparison out loud so often that he would call attention to it and be like, hey, you're not in America. So of course, things are different. And I was like, wow, I didn't even realize. And I'm just talking about small things, like in America, we wait in line. We don't just push each other when we're paying for something. In America, time is money. In America, those things that we have.
That would really caught me, Akani, that time is money. I still have to change my mindset with that one. I have to knock on my head a couple times.
I catch myself all the time. You know what I mean? And it is something that I share with people when they travel with us. Before they even get here, I let them know that time is not of the essence in Ghana. Like, it's not. And yes, we're going to be late. And no, there's no times in your itinerary. Like, don't ask me to put times in your itinerary, because more than likely we're not going to follow it. You know what I mean? Not because we don't want to, but that's just the nature of Ghana. Ghanaians are not in a hurry. You know what I mean? And so I find myself having, now that I've been here so long, it's a lot easier for me to exercise patience, which is a saying here. It's easier for me to exercise patience, because when I realize that I'm not exercising patience, I look around and I see everybody else exercising patience. And I'm like, girl, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is you're trying to rush to on this thing, exercise patience. But in the same vein, there are times where in Ghana, we call it applying pressure. There are times where we have to apply pressure. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be the annoying American to get some things done. To get some things done. So I would say that I didn't have as much of a culture shock up front that I thought I would, but my culture shock showed up over time in different situations, in different ways. And I've learned that, you know, if I want to get a refund, for example, from a Ghanaian, and this is a Ghanaian owned business, and I want a refund, I can't handle it the same way that I would handle it if I was in the US and I wanted a refund. I can still get the refund, but I have to be more creative and more culturally aware when I'm asking for money back or an exchange of goods if something wasn't right, you know. So it's more about putting my Black privilege to the side in cases where I don't need it, and then pulling out that Black privilege in times when it's really needed. You know what I'm saying? And I also don't mind paying a little bit more. I call it the Black tax. I understand that as an African American coming into the country, I appear to be wealthy. I get that. And I also understand that I probably do, in most situations, have one more CD than the person that's upcharging me one more CD. And so I don't mind giving it. And my husband, he doesn't like it, but I don't mind giving it in those cases where I'm like, you're not really trying to get over. You're not charging me 10 CDs extra. You're charging me one CD more. And I'm going to give you that one CD. And I'm going to let you know, hey, I know you just charged me the Black tax, but there you go, my brother or my sister. So that's all I have to say about that.
You actually put us in, you mentioned money. So I actually wanted to segue into the money portion, because I'm in this sector right now as we speak. When I try to do my true landing in, what year was that? 2021, 2022. It didn't go right. I was scammed and all this other stuff happened and whatnot. And I know a lot of people, when they want to repatriate or expat, the money is a super, super concern. How am I going to make money? Do I need to sell all my things in the UK or the United States, then move? And then how do I make money while I'm there? So, and anyone can answer the question I'm about to ask, but how did you guys start to make money where you're at? And how did you sustain yourself where you're at? And did you ever question, like, oh my God, I can't do this? And was it ever a moment where you're like, I want to go back to the West because I can't do this, y'all? Or did you say in your heart, I'm burning the boat and I'm not going back?
Well, I think for me, I came here in 2013. I've been here 12 years. But when I got here, I was 33 years old. I was still in my, my active youth. And I blended right in with the young community. So the first way I began to make money here was I started to get electronics from America, use electronics, and resell them here to the people that would need parts, to the people here that would also prefer America used products more than Chinese brand new products. So I found an underground market that actually America had a grip on. Africans will buy anything secondhand from America before they buy it brand new from China. I didn't realize that.
I wish I could hear him.
I Can y'all hear me? Okay. So, you know, I didn't realize that, but I was like, okay. And I'm a hustler, so I was like, find different things to do. At one time, I opened a little provision shop in the community. Had a little bar there. Used to play music all day, all night. All the youth used to come around. So I did like the real.
Now I can't hear him. And now the audio went away. Yeah, the audio gone again. I heard you. You were cooking too. You were cooking, and then it went away. You want to go out and come back in? Because I do want to hear this. And Zoe, do you want to take over? Because I know I can hear you, Zoe.
Remind me the question we were talking about. What was the question again?
Yeah, just basically, how did you start making money? Like, did you think you can do it?
Yeah.
Was it, I'm going to go back to the West because I don't think I can do it? Or I'm going to burn this boat. I'm going to burn the boat and I'm not going back. Like, what was your, how did you make it work?
I don't actually advise people to burn the boat. I don't think that's necessary. I mean, if you want to, you can, but I always think it's good to have options. If you can have options and you have a home and you can rent it out, it's always good because the country that you go to might not be the country that you settle in. You might need to go back, earn some more money, rethink. So I don't advise people to burn the boat, but if you want to go do it, go ahead. But for me, that question of how to earn money was a thing that kept me from making the big move. I had like maybe a 10-year runway to actually moving here full time. So in 2015, I came here for 6 months. I was actually working part-time for a company back in the UK, then went back and then came again in 2021. But what enabled me to make the move in 21 was that it was COVID, right? So everyone was working online. And for me, it's only in the past year that I started to earn money in Grenada. All of my clients are overseas, primarily in the US, the UK. I still do some consulting for a company back in the UK. So again, I think quite often when people think about moving, they think, okay, I've got to move and get a job. I've got to move and get a job in Sierra Leone or Ghana or Nigeria or wherever. But I think the reality is that the digital economy makes so many options available that many of the people that I consult with, that's the option that they're looking to go down. So they might have a business in the US that they can understand, okay, I can take this digital, so I can do this from anywhere in the world. So that tends, in the Caribbean, that tends to be an option that many people go down just because like, it's not Mexico, it's not Thailand, it's not, I mean, I can't say Ghana because Ghana's probably more expensive than where I am now, but people are often quite shocked at the cost of living. And it is possible to live like really low to the ground. But if you do like creature comforts and you do like to be able to travel internationally, you do need an international standard of income. And sometimes making sure that most of your clients are able to pay the rate that allows you to live how you want to live can be a way of getting the best of being in both worlds. So you live where you want to live around the sort of people that you want to be with, but you earn money from people who are earning in US, pounds, euros, whatever. That's the solution that I found.
Thank you. And Maxifode, can you continue? I think you're back. And then Akani, I'm gonna have you answer too.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So I was saying that originally I was just, finding different hustles, grassroots hustles, learning what the people was doing and working with them. A lot of them would be like, hey man, if you do this and do this, you can make some money. I'm like, for real? Let's do it. I was just figuring it out. And but eventually I came to, learn the language. I learned the culture very, very easily. It was easy for me to pick up. And eventually people started coming to Sierra Leone. People from America and people from the UK and Jamaica started visiting here. And when they would come, I would be the diaspora brother on the ground who already was there. And so I started plugging people with communities, plugging people with resources. Eventually my wife was like, man, we need to go ahead and do a tour company. I was like, tour company? That's corny. But at the end of the day, it's not just about tour company. I like what you were saying, like it's more of a management thing because I have organizational skills, I have network marketing skills, I have business skills that I've developed over, my years. And I was trying to figure out how best to apply them here, being that no one's going to hire me. You can't get a job out here. you got to create your own income out here if you're coming from the West. And so for me, I want to eat Leon's too. I don't want to just rely on dollars. I want to eat from the local market too. And so we realized that the flow of people coming back was going to grow, and people were going to need the basic information that we already have. So we organize ourselves in a certain way to provide information services to travelers. It would be a no-brainer. So like for right now, we frequently get people who need consultancy, people who, while they're in the country, they need a hookup, they need a connection, somewhere safe where they can get their travel documents, somewhere safe where they can, lodge. They need that information. And so a lot of the money that we make now, a lot of our income comes from just that, just providing services to people as they come. And as you know, in Africa, you have periods. Everything in Africa is seasonal. So during the dry periods, you can make enough money to sit back during the rain season. And so it's not a constant 9 to 5 every week, every month paying this. It's not that. You can make money in 3 months and sit back for the rest of the year. And so aligning ourselves with tourism, particularly roots heritage tourism where people are coming back now to learn more about their roots. Me being somewhat of an educator, we also provide tours, educational tours. We do a lot of nonprofit work here as well as organizations. So resources spend like that as well. Resources they tend to spend. It hasn't really been a big financial problem. I'm still not rich. I still don't have an inch of land that I feel as though is uncontested in mine and my descendants forever. But I'm good. I'm good because I know how to get it now. You know what I'm saying? Right now, everybody can cut me off and I'll still have it. So it's really about knowledge. It's about positioning yourself with the knowledge you have and putting that thing on the market, man, because the difference is that some people think they can travel without the consultancy. They think they can travel without the protection of someone who cares about the outcome of their travel. But, you're going to need somebody. And so I'm that dude out here. If you really serious about getting involved out here, contact Chief. I'll put you on. I don't mind. It's not really a money grab. I just need to be paid for my services like a barbershop. You might be my sister, but hey, I'll cut your kid's hair, but you might have to give me, a little discount, but I need that money too. My son got to eat too. So it's just a love affair between people who understand that we're all trying to figure out how to make ends meet on the continent now, which I'd rather do that here than in America all day. I'd rather try to figure it out over here than try to figure it out over there without all of the pressure of hatred. It's just too much. Out here, you can really just dictate your life at your own time. That's why sis was like, yo, we don't really follow schedule like that. Same thing. We say we're going to be there by 11. You can expect us by 1. So we on CP time too out here. It ain't no difference. We call it black man time in Freetown. Everybody knows that. If you want them there by 3, tell them 1 o'clock. And so, the financial thing about here also is that every price is negotiable. So you might be talking about just onions and you can talk the price. You could be talking about a piece of land and they say, man, give me 20,000 leons. You say, man, that's too much, man. Okay, what you want to give me? I want to give you 5. Well, no, man, give me 15. No, give me 12. I'll give you 12. So you still have the ability to go through a negotiation before you pay a price. And what happens to the diaspora is that when they come back, they hear the big price and they shake instead of knowing that you have a right to negotiate after that. When someone says, hey, man, you want this cloth? They look at you. They say, oh, this person's from the UK. They're from the West. Okay, give me $10 per yard. You say, I would never do that. Oh, you crazy? I'll give you $1 per yard. You underbid them on purpose so they can bring that price down. That's how you beat getting burnt in the market here. Don't be afraid to negotiate your prices. So I learned that just growing up in the streets in America, hustling around the ghetto and all that. Them skills come in handy on the continent. And so if you happen to have been fortunate to grow up outside of the ghetto, you might need to get certain skills before you get here. So visit your local neighbor community, visit your local inner city community and get some of them survival skills back, because that's what you need to really make it do what it do on the continent. No matter what book knowledge you have, It's them basic core survival skills, security skills, how I can take this 15 cents and flip it into $1, how I can tuck this money under the mattress, all that. You got to really, really get on your grind. So, you know, if you're not a hustler, the hustle definitely helps you out here. And I don't mean like being a criminal or selling no dope or nothing like that. I'm talking about if you don't know how to take this for $1 and sell it for $2 and flip that over some time, then your economics is going to be twisted out here on the continent. So you can't rely on a 9 to 5. And I knew that coming here, and I was game. I was game for it. So I developed into a social entrepreneur. I find ways to generate resources for the community as well as resources for me and my family. And we sustain at our own level. It's not really about bluffing and showing everybody how much money we got or how much land. That's stupid. I ain't come all the way out here for that. I could do that over there.
Got it. Akani, what about you? What say you?
First, I want to say amen to the whole last part of that speech, because I find myself saying that to people all the time. You know, they're always complaining on Facebook about this or that. And I'm like, I experienced that in Cleveland. Like, where are you people from? Like, I experienced that in Cleveland, and I get street smarts. Like, I got book smarts, but street smarts is how I survived before I moved here. So why would I leave them in the United States? So anyway, amen to that, brother. So for me, like I said, when I first came, my husband had already had real estate. He already had apartments and things like that that he subleased to people. And he already was into tourism. And so when I came, we just created a company, right? Because he was freelancing. We created a company, and we did real estate, and we helped diasporans find places. So we would find apartments or houses and rent them, and rent it up for 2-3 years. Because in Ghana, you know, you can rent a place up to 5 years in advance. So we would find a place and we would invest in that place by renting it from whoever. And then, of course, we had a lease that allowed us to sublease. We would make the place nice and then sublease it to an African American, because they didn't always want to come here and lease a place for a year. You know, we would offer 6-month lease, 3-month lease, things like that. So that helped us during, especially during COVID, because a lot of people were stuck here. And we were like, oh, well, we got this place, and people were calling us and like, oh, do you have any place? Sure do. So exactly. So that helped us a lot during COVID. And during that time also, we were searching for land. We have partners that are African American. For this specific land project, we had partners who were African American who lived abroad, and we both put our money in and found ocean view land. And we bought 28 acres of land, and we have been selling those plots over time to people who are from the diaspora or who are Ghanaian and who want to live in that area. We adopted the village in that area, which is called Brendu. Let me just not say in that area. The area is called Brendu Achnim, and it's in the central region. And so we adopted the village that we bought land in, because we know that people who are buying land from us are going to build mansions and whatever the heck they're coming to build. And the village is extremely poor. And so it benefits them to have us there, because we brought light poles to areas that didn't have light poles. So now there's transformer in the area that wasn't transformer. We're improving the road as much as we can, you know, because the government doesn't allow you to fix roads here, but you can improve a road that's already there. And so we're doing things like that. I know. I have an organization, we have an organization called Free Play, and we do field days with the youth of the village. Every tour we bring to the village, and they donate school supplies to the school. They donate books. They donate sanitary napkins. They do whatever it is that specific group agrees to do for the village. But we do all of our efforts in one place. And it comes from our tourism business. It comes from us selling land. Things like that. But I've also, like he said, my daughter lives here. So we have come up with all kinds of side hustles in the meantime. You know, we have baked, you know what I mean? Because African Americans miss pound cake, and they miss, you know, all the sweets, because you can't really get good cake, unfortunately, West African cake tastes like cornbread, no matter the flavor. And so we were able to, you know, make money doing all types of small side hustles in the times where things might have been slow. But like the brother said, we also stack money, you know, for the rainy season. And that's why I'm super excited about Love Soul Legacy too, because this sister is not from Ghana. She doesn't live here, but she's given us an opportunity to make a lot of money on our own fabric, and the fabric is being made here. So it's like he said, I completely agree. It's about figuring out what assets you already have. You know what I mean? I'm already a business entrepreneurial minded person. I'm already a community building person. What can I do with these skills and make something happen, not just for me and my family, but for the people in the neighborhood that I'm around, you know? So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. That's how we make money.
Thank you. That's so important. And I'm going to review this because some of the things I know a lot of people ask us here at Resplendence Language Arts, like, what do people do? How do they do it? Go ahead.
Let me also say this. I'm a Ghanaian citizen and an American citizen. You don't have to be a citizen to live here. And I think a lot of people are caught up on this citizen train. Citizenship means you pay taxes here. You still have to pay taxes in the United States if you're maintaining your United States citizenship. So you have to pay taxes both sides. So I don't know what the excitement is. You know, it's important to some extent to be a citizen, but at the same time, it comes with a level of responsibility that I think people forget. But being a citizen of the United States allowed me to also get money from the United States. Our business is not just registered in Ghana, it's registered in the United States. Our organization is not just registered in Ghana, it's registered in the United States. So I think that's something that people kind of miss out on too. They just, I did burn the boat. Let me be clear about that. I did burn the boat. I lived in a 6x6 room in the back of my mother's drum shop for 6 months before I moved here. I let go of my apartment, my car, my everything that had a bill to it. Peace out. I was taking showers at the gym. That's the only bill I kept was the gym, because I went there and I saved my money. I kept working, cashed out my 401k, cashed out everything, because I have no intention of living there again. However, I still pay my taxes. So that means whatever programs financially they got going on, whatever business grants or what have you, I still apply because I'm still a citizen.
Yeah. Also, just to add to what you're saying as well, within the business space and the nonprofit space, when you hold on to your American citizenship or your citizenship from abroad, you still have the benefits of being a citizen from abroad as well. So grants, like you were saying, certain grants for international work, we can try to get those grants for ourselves. We can build the nonprofits to control those resources. And so there's a lot, like you're saying, in terms of resources. A lot of people think all we need is money, but we need resources. And resources is not only finance. We also need organization. We need system. We need logistics. How do we move things around in a way that is most effective and efficient? So we need actually to be organized. We need to be very, very, the better we're organized, the easier this is going to be. You understand? And so it's just about letting it happen naturally, because what happens is that the people who are strong will naturally rise and emerge, and you'll start seeing them. They start popping up in front of your face because they're the strong ones. I think that when we're able to facilitate organizing now, once we can look and say, wow, what worked in Ghana best? What works in Sierra Leone best? What works in these different parts best? Then we can develop like a strategy, international strategy, and really begin to push towards having our voices heard more directly. My current soapbox right now is for the African diaspora on the continent to have the direct representation that we actually don't get anywhere else in the world. At least with the African governments, and especially with like the international organizations like the AU and whatnot, the AES now, ECOWAS, whatever international body it is that's governing affairs in Africa, they need to deal with us in a certain kind of way as well. And there's a lot of dynamics in that, because the diaspora is broad, it's very diverse, in terms of nationalities and ethnicities and languages and mind states and culture. Very, very rich and diverse. And so right now, the African Union is basically expecting for all of us to pull together in one big, giant organization, choose our leader, and then work through them as one. And that is almost next to impossible. They're going to have to open up to the diversity of the African diaspora and create practical ways that we can address the political powers on the continent, because we do need land. Everybody ain't gonna be able to afford it. We do need to find ways to get people to the continent who can't afford to get here, because that's what the white man do. You see, with the white people that want to go to America and start over, they gave them a loan and they went over there and they worked their ass for 7 years till they paid their loan off. That's how they became our slave masters. You understand? And so we got to have a practice. This is one reason why I really like to highlight Sierra Leone and Liberia, because the people that came back here came back centuries ago. They came back in the 1700s and the 1800s, and they had to answer all these same questions that we're answering today. They had to create policies and practices and communities and standards back then. And a lot of us don't historically go back and revisit how they did that. But if we do, if we begin to really study up on Liberia and Freetown and see how the first historical groups of diasporans came back and what they did that was good, what they did that was not so good, what they did that can be improved on, and we start building on that at the continental level, then I don't think we really have to beg anybody for our rights on the continent. We've contributed immensely over the last few centuries as the African diaspora. We're not a new group of people coming back to help. When Haile Selassie I made the call, whoop, brothers from Harlem, whoop, brothers from Tuskegee, whoop. So we've always been having this interaction with Africa. Africa has always been the motherland of the African diaspora. We've never been confused about that. And so I think that right now with us coming back, we've never come back like this. We've never come back in these numbers. Never come back with these intentions. We've never come back with this consciousness either, or these resources. So it's a whole different conversation we need to be able to have. And I think it's going to take platforms like this. Sister Shayla, thank you so much. And the work that all of us are talking about doing, because how else will our people understand the mission if the missionaries don't turn and say, yo, this is how we're moving? So it's our responsibility, particularly the pioneers, those of us who are really taking losses to be here, you know, missing out on lifelong opportunities and investing, and not just living here on top of the people, not just living here in luxury, but going through the struggle with the people in Africa, and at the same time holding it down with the other side. So when you're talking about paying the taxes, that's important, because the enemy will try to trip us up as we get stronger. And one of the things that they will focus on is, are we evading taxes? That's the first thing they're going to try to get us on. That's what they try to get Garvey on. That's what they try to get all of our revolutionary, militant, progressive, Pan-African organizations on. At first, they check the books. Check their books. How are they getting money? And so make sure your books is right. Sis is right. Make sure your books is right. That's very, very important, because once you get here, you ain't going to want to leave. Like, sis, I came here one time, I was like, man, I'm good. My wife came after me. My sisters start coming. My cousins start coming. I'm good. Like, I'm putting my family on now. That's the first and foremost thing, is that, like, your parents are able to put you on. They was already conscious. They was already moving to the continent. Like, I'm that for my family. You know what I'm saying? I'm opening the door now, busting through, boom. And so I'm sure there's going to be a lot more of my family returning. And so this thing is more spiritual than it is financial. And only people who really go through it, like sis was saying, like, you know, even me, I went down to like just me and the clothes that I had and the bags that I had, and I was grinding, trying to get to the continent. It is an experience. It is a rites of passage that only the ancestors can carry you through. And so repatriation is real, y'all. And those of us who really went through the genuine process, all differences aside, we got to figure this thing out, because they're going to try to set this up. They're going to try to sabotage this return. They already are. There's already spies and FBI agents and coons and everything all over the place that will willingly sabotage any attempt that the diaspora makes to truly reunion on the continent. Those of us who are building these bridges, we need to learn how to build together. That's it.
That's what I wanted to ask.
The financial problem will be over.
Have you heard of Hug Diaspora? Any of you? Are any of you a part of Hug Diaspora? HUG, historically unique group.
I am not.
Okay, I'm going to connect you all to the Hug Diaspora team because they are doing just that. They are not separating themselves, I guess you could say, from the African Union, but saying that, hey, we are a unique group. We're not just the diaspora. Those of us who have been impacted by the transatlantic slave trade and who have been moved to the Caribbean, to the United States, to Canada, we have a different experience, and they call us the sixth region. Part of that region is the African American part of it.
Yeah.
The diaspora is the specific transatlantic slave descendants, and I hate to say slaves because I just don't like that word. But the African descendants, it is an organization that is focused on creating our
space.
Yeah, our ask, you know what I mean? Our seat at the table when we're discussing the continent, because we're living here, you know what I mean? But our voices are scattered, and so I will connect you guys. You can see if it's an organization that you're interested in. I'm not really an organization person, even though I'm into organizing. I don't like to get into cliques because it just, but this organization, what they're doing is very methodical, and it includes seniors, our elders, it includes the youth, it includes, every facet that makes us who we are. Yeah. And I think it's what they're doing, not even trying to do, what they're doing is valuable, and it speaks to what you were just talking about. So I'll share contact with them.
Okay, thank you.
So, my last question for the panel, and thank you guys for accepting the invitation. This is wonderful. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Can you hear me? Excellent. Zoe, I'm going to bring you up first. I'm going to each have you answer this question. And my first question for you, or last question rather, is what does home mean to you?
That's a very good question. What does home mean to me? Home means a place of belonging, being surrounded by people who look like me, in land that nourishes me, where I know that there is an ancestral connection. And I'm privileged enough to have that in two places. I have that in the Caribbean and on the African continent. And the difference that it makes to me on the soul level, to be in a place where I am nurtured rather than tolerated, there aren't even words to describe it. And I think for those of us of African descent whose ancestors have endured what they endured, we do have the liberty to be where we need to be. We are no longer tied to a plantation. And yes, the decision to move to be elsewhere for most of us isn't easy. It does require a significant degree of sacrifice, but the dividends that we stand to reap as a result are not just important, they're necessary for the generation to come. Like, I have 3 children. I can't sit in a place that is toxic and then expect them to be better. So me deciding to be in Grenada, to maintain my connections with the African continent, that's setting the standard for my children and generations to come. And I think we need to start thinking not just about us, but 7 generations times, and the choices that we make have implications. And I think for many reasons, many of us are feeling the call now and hearing how everyone is going on that journey and understanding that it isn't necessarily easy, but is necessary for growth and necessary in terms of raising consciousness and stepping into the purpose that we're all supposed to fulfill. The time is now. The time is now.
Thank you, Zoe, really, really much. And I hope you can come next year and experience more through us. I want to bid you adieu. We're going to each keep talking. All right, next one, Mansa Fode. What does home mean to you? I've got to put you up here.
All right.
Well, there you are.
when you say home, you mean Africa, or you mean just like the
I want you to take that question how you want to take it. What does home mean to you?
Well, home is where my family is, you know. I always say that because I was born in Pennsylvania, but my family from down south. And even though we lived up north, we always considered home to be where our family was from. And back then, we just knew ourselves to be from South Carolina. We knew that we had we knew we was from Africa. My mother could even recall stories of hearing of a Mandinka ancestry and things like that. My grandma was in the hoodoo. We was Gullah Geechied out. We had some Africanism, but we didn't look at it like that. America made us look at our Africanisms like Satanisms. And so people was running away from the Africanisms, not knowing that that was their identity. My family was a little more ratchet. So, you know, we held on to the group work and all that. You know, we was into it. And so for me, home was always where my family was from. And now that has broadened with DNA, with genetic genealogy, with discovering the thousands of relatives that I have, the 23 on the continent, 23 cousins on the continent. And so when you start to see, like, that's where my family is from, all of that becomes home. All of it becomes home. Because when I came to Sierra Leone, I was coming home. I knew that Gullah Geechee people had a connection here. We had been doing homecoming since 1989. It was no secret. And I said, well, I'm going to do my own homecoming. I'm going where my people from. And so Africa is home, but also Africa, I believe, is the culture within the home. So wherever you find Africa is home, but family, however you define your family, some people define their family as their religious family. So wherever the Hebrews is at, that's where the Black Hebrew guy consider home. Wherever the mosque is at and the Muslims is at, that's home to them. For me, I view myself as an African, first and foremost. And if I'm talking about lineage and heritage, I'm talking about Gullah Geechee. So I feel like home to me in America would be South Carolina. And home to me as an African would be the whole entire continent. I found ancestral connections from Angola, Congo, Cameroon, Nigeria, Benin, all these different countries, and the cousins to match. And so it's a thing where you can't confuse me no more about what home is. Home is my family, and wherever my family at, I'm welcome. So to me, that's home.
Thank you so much, Mansa Fode. I love hearing from you. You're like my family, fambu, one blood. And I think you're good for this. Akani, you already know the question. What does home feel like to you now?
Well, I will say that before I came to Ghana, I felt Africa would be home, right? I was like, that's home. You know, I had this, you know, romanticized idea, but I would say that's home. But when I came on tour and I stepped foot outside of the airport, I was like, whoa, I've never felt like this before. How can I feel like I just walked into my community and I've never been here before? How can I feel like I'm at home and I've never been here before? I went back to the US 4 years ago to visit my kids, because I have 2 children, a son who's 23 and a daughter who's 25. So I went back at the time they were younger to visit them, and I felt like a foreigner. I felt so much like a foreigner that I let a stranger take me to my daughter's house. And when I got there, she wasn't expecting me either. Like, I didn't tell anybody I was arriving. So I thought, you know, this guy approached me at the airport, and he's like, hey, you got these big bags? Where you going? I'll take you. I'm like, okay. Because in Ghana, that's normal. In Ghana, taxi drivers and, you know, people come up to you all the time and say, hey, let me give you a ride. And you take the ride. When I got to my daughter's house, she's like, who's this man? I'm like, oh, he was a driver. He was parked at the airport. She was like, mommy, do you know that women are getting kidnapped every day? And I just felt so not at home. I felt so foreign. I was like, dang, she's right. This place isn't safe. I forgot that I'm not safe here. So for me, home is definitely on the continent. I've been to Tanzania. It didn't feel like home. Ghana feels like home. I have the feeling that if and when I go to Nigeria, it'll feel like home. And after this, I'm definitely going to visit Sierra Leone. Me and the brother are going to get together and I'm going to bring some people there. I have a feeling it's going to feel like home. I believe that West Africa is where my descendants are from. According to DNA, anyway, they are. And I feel at home here. But I also agree that home is where the heart is. And because my children have been here and they want to live here, and my mom is here, and my father, he lives in Tanzania now, but he's talking about moving to Ghana. I really feel like no matter where I am, they are home. You know what I mean? So that's my answer.
Thank you, Akani, for joining us too. This has been such a beautiful, beautiful moment for us in our third annual celebration of global African excellence. And thank you for your mom for opening the show as well.
Oh, and I missed it.
You got to go back and look, Akani. She did a good job.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me, guys.
Thank you too. So now it's just us, ladies, the ladies of Resplendent Language Arts. OMG, forever and ever and ever. So I think I'll let Mwalimu Mutoni start and just tell everybody how you teach Swahili, how you're running Resplendence and things of that caliber. Then we'll have Lady from Colombia to speak, and then we'll close it out.
Asante sana, Sheila. Thank you so much, Sheila. And hi, everyone. I can't imagine it's over 3 hours already. It's been engaging, captivating conversations, and I really do appreciate. My name is Muthoni. Call me Mwalimu Muthoni, Teacher Muthoni. I teach Kiswahili, a Resplendence Language Arts, and I am the Education Director as well. Our goal here is to make language learning fun. I mean, engaging and practical. Whether you're learning for travel, may it be business, may it be studies, or even cultural connection, we got you. We got you. You're in safe hands and able hands. Okay. Having mentioned that, please enroll for our classes. Sign up for my Swahili classes, private or group. I will take care of you. And before I pass it on to Lady, I want to say something that is missed most of the times. That is Asante sana, Sheila. Thank you so much, Sheila. Aww. Thank you for being the brains and the spark behind this broadcast. And of course, the whole Arile brand. You saw the need and you moved with, determination, purpose. And that is the reason as to why we are here today. We do acknowledge your effort, your sacrifice, your determination. Yeah. That really matters. And you also
make me cry. I'm emotional these days.
Yes, we thank you for your leadership, and may it keep inspiring all of us here. Asante
you guys
sana.
Inspire me. Literally, what we do inspire me to continue to go out. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I can't do it no more. Oh my God, man. But this kind of, interaction and the passion people have, it inspires to keep moving, keep the movement forward. Yeah. Oh my God, you're making me cry. All right, Lady, your turn.
Hello, everyone. Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Gusto en conocerles. My name is Lady Vidal. I am so happy to be in this such a great event. I really learned so many things, and I am so happy to see that so many things that are going around in African countries and in other countries with the African diaspora are happening here as well. So I am from Bogota, Colombia, South America, and we are so similar. I love that. So I am the Spanish teacher here at Resplendence Language Arts. I love teaching languages because this help us connect with each one, learn from each one experiences, learn about our history, culture, share those process that we are carrying out in our communities. And I will be happy to teach you Spanish whenever you are ready. Thanks a lot.
So I really want to say this, and hopefully my internet will hold. I've been having issues with internet too. Let me tell you, it's everywhere. It's on the continent, internet issues, and off the continent, obviously. So if you guys can't hear me, one more, you're gonna have to take it home, okay? But today, in closing, today was more than just a celebration. It was a reclamation of things. We heard stories of land, language, legacy, and love for our people across continents, from people that are still in the diaspora to Grenada.
I think that Sheila lost her connection.
It happens. But what I was saying is from our wisdom of our elders to the vision of our youth. One thing is clear: we are not disconnected. We are returning. We're rebuilding and remembering who we are. And whether you're on the continent or in the diaspora, may today remind you that your roots are strong, your story is sacred, and your future is yours to shape. Let this not be the end, but only the beginning, a spark to keep learning, building, preserving, and uniting. Umoja, as they say in Swahili. I want to thank you, all of the viewers here, all 125, sometimes 200. We think we got 200 or something today. Thank you to all the viewers, to everyone that was commenting in the comments. Thank you, most importantly, to all the presenters and speakers. Again, every listener, every RLA member who was here today.
Yeah, it happened again. But we are very grateful for everyone who was able.
But
I'm sorry, Dada. I'm sorry, Dada. You froze the moment.
I don't know why it's happening, but I do want to say follow us, stay connected, and keep the movement alive. Together, we rise now. Not tomorrow, not before. We rise now. One people, one purpose, one future. And I'll let you take it, Mutoni, to end it because my internet is not very faithful. But I want to ashe and thank everyone. And Mutoni, I'll let you ride us out.
Wait, did I copy that?
Yeah. I want you to end the broadcast, silly goose.
Oh, okay. Asante sana for choosing RLA, Resplendence Language Arts. Thank you so much to all our panelists for sharing their wisdom, their expertise, and their passion. Thank you to RLA Tribe and all that you do. And thank you for sparing time to do this with us today. Asanteni sana. Be blessed. Kwaheri.
Bye, everyone. Kwaheri. Bye-bye. See you next year for the fourth annual celebration of global African excellence next year. Bye, everyone.